Morning. I'd like to call the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners to order. Today is Wednesday, June 18th, 2025 at 9:00 a.m. Action will be taken on all items unless otherwise noted. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. To avoid disruptions, please place cell phones and beepers in the silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public. Any such restrictions must be reasonable and may restrict the time, place, and manner of the comments, but may not restrict comments based upon viewpoint. Board of County Commissioners convening as other boards. Members of the Board of County Commissioners also serve as the Liquor Board, Central Lyon Vector Control District Board, Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board, Walker River Weed Control District Board, Willow Creek General Improvement District Board, the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board, and during this meeting may convene as any of these boards as indicated on this or a separately posted agenda. This meeting may break between 11:30 and 1:30 for lunch. All commissioners are present and in chambers. Please stand for the invocation given by John Downstone of the Joy Church, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance given by Commissioner Hendricks.
Morning, Commissioners. Heavenly Father, thank you that you are in our midst and that you're glad to be so. Thank you that we can gather still, openly and in public, under the underpinnings of our Constitution and our law. Thank you that we can participate in an open fashion. Father, I this morning pray especially for provision and protection for our county officials and especially our county employees and especially our first responders. We ask your divine guidance and wisdom over this meeting. We bless this meeting in the name of Jesus, and we thank you that you are good and always good. Amen.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda item, but before the board takes any action. So this public comment is for things that aren't on the agenda. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none in the room, do we have any online? Oh, I didn't see you walk up. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm invisible. Jim DeChambeau. I was here a couple of meetings ago asking for speed bumps or something to do to slow the traffic down on Osborne Lane. I'm still asking for the same thing. I have seen no action. I have had no contact. Something needs to be done.
Any other public comments? Now go online. None on Zoom. Okay. Number 5, Possible action, review and adoption of agenda. Do we have any changes or pull? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adopt the agenda as posted.
Do you have a second? Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Hendrick, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to number 6, time certain at 9:00 a.m. Public hearing bill 25-02 for possible action, approving ordinance amending Lyon County Code Title 15, Chapter 336, Section 6 through 9, and Section 12, and Chapter 320, Table 320-1 through 20-4, amending conditional use permit standards for new commercial wind generation, geothermal generation, and solar generation. In adding conditional use permit standards for energy storage systems, amending table of allowed uses, rural residential, commercial mixed use, commercial and agricultural resource zoning districts to add energy storage systems as an allowable use, and table of allowable uses, employment and industrial zoning districts to add energy storage systems as an allowable use in Lyon County.
Good morning, Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. Sorry, that was a mouthful, but there was no other way to get it on there. Next slide, please. So this is the second hearing on this ordinance. That makes changes to performance standards for wind energy conversion systems, geothermal generating systems, solar generation, commercial systems. It creates energy storage systems as an allowed use in Lyon County and establishes the zoning districts where those energy storage systems would be allowed. Establishes performance standards for energy storage systems and establishes standards for decommissioning and reclamation of renewable energy projects. Given that this is the second hearing on this item, I always give the board the option. I can run through the entire ordinance again, or I can go through just the staff recommended changes that have come up since the first hearing. So I'm happy to do whatever the board would like.
What does the board want? Just the changes?
Changes.
Just the changes.
I would say that, yeah, I was gonna say the whole presentation is 83 slides, so we can skip to slide 52. And actually, you can just go to go to the next one. So first, I'm going to talk about the proposed changes for wind energy systems. Really just adding some clarifying language in there. That says that the Board of County Commissioners may at their sole discretion approve setbacks that are less than the setbacks outlined in this chapter if the project is part of a planned unit development. Now that's language that's already basically in code in other sections. In chapter 349, which covers planned unit developments, doesn't specifically apply to wind energy conversion systems, but it does apply to all development essentially if they go through the PUD process. We wanted to put this in there to just kind of clarify that that's still an option and that there is a path forward for some of these projects. You know, if it makes sense and with the board's approval, it allows the board to assess each one of these on a case-by-case basis as you go to approve the planned unit development plan. And so it gives the board a little bit more control over the siting of these projects. Next slide, please. And as I stated before, this is language that's already in Lyon County Code. This is from chapter 349, and it just states the purpose of a planned unit development. And it says planned unit development is a land use designation designed to provide an overall planning and design approach for a single use development or development incorporating a mix of uses. PUD allows for deviation from strict application of dimensional and use limitations of the zoning district or districts in order to provide flexibility for landowners to creatively plan for the overall development of their land to achieve a more desirable environment than would be possible through strict application of the standard requirements of the zoning district. I want to touch on that. I mean, it is another process that a project would have to go through. It's essentially a zone change, but there's a whole nother layer of application that goes through that, but it does allow for that to go forward. Admittedly, I believe it would be difficult for projects on BLM land to move forward with through the PUD process, just because I don't believe that BLM as the landowner would apply for the zone change, but I could be wrong on that. That would of course be up to BLM. Yes, sir.
Questions? Go ahead, whenever you need to.
Thank you, Chair. So if I'm understanding this correctly, we can, landowners can apply for a PUD to waive, the setbacks. So if they wanted to put some solar on their property, is that correct?
Yeah, it's not necessarily, that is correct. So it's not necessarily a waiver of it, but it allows the board to kind of negotiate back and forth with the property owner so that you can come with something that works for the community. Come up with something that works for the community.
So I guess I'm wrong with that. So if we approve something for one landowner, does that set a precedence for others to kind of get that same waiver of, let's say, the distance from a roadway or a dwelling? So, and if we say no to that next person, does that open us up to lawsuits?
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager, so I can't really answer the legal question. We'd have to probably defer to the district attorney on that, but however, the thing about a PUD is that it does take it on a case-by-case basis. Every parcel is different, so it would just depend on what that looked like. If it was two similar projects that met all the same standards, I would think that you know, the board probably would want to treat them equally, right? But again, if you're comparing apples to oranges, I think there's some flexibility there, right? So it's not like you have to approve every PUD that comes before you.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment. So we're doing a county-wide ordinance.
Yes.
And the PUD allows us to do each one individually. So if there's something, say, outside of Wabuska or downtown Dayton, we can treat them separately, and whether or not there's houses next door or not. And so it gives us into flexibility.
That's what he said.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that, and again, this language is already in our code. It was already a possibility before. We just added it to this ordinance to add it to that chapter to make it extremely clear. Next slide, please. So most of the rest of the changes in the wind energy system just make a conforming change to add or plan unit development process through the rest of the requirements. Next slide, please. One thing that is different, I propose to make some changes to the fire protection district section. It was pointed out that there's no provision in here in case the fire protection district doesn't want to serve the project. And so basically it just says, if the fire protection district chooses not to provide fire protection, inspection, and or emergency medical services to the project proponent must provide a plan for how they will provide those services. And again, this is only for projects that are outside of a fire protection district currently. Next slide, please. Geothermal. Similar changes, just adding the plan unit development process as a part of that on the road impacts. Just making the exact same changes to keep it consistent and adding the fire protection language in there as well. It is word for word the same. For solar generation, next slide, please. This one we added a definition into the ordinance, and we added a definition of what a solar energy conversion system is. And it is a facility for the generation of electricity utilizing the energy and sunlight for the purpose of producing electricity to be used on site and are sold and distributed through the established commercial power grid. The technologies include photovoltaics and concentrated solar power generators. SECSs do not include facilities that are used to provide power to manufacturing and or data center uses. and are accessory to the primary use of manufacturing or data center if located on the same parcel or entitled through a common conditional use permit or plan unit development. So I'll explain why we added this in there. One, we're trying to encourage economic development in Lyon County, and data centers and manufacturing are some of our target industries. They're starting to use battery backup more and more as a part of that instead of diesel generators, or they use it for as a transition between when the power goes out and when the diesel generator kicks on. The ordinance was not intended to affect that. We had a developer that had come forward that we've been working with on a couple of projects, and they had mentioned that they had felt that was an unintended consequence of that. So that was one of the reasons. It's definitely a different use than a utility scale solar that's just providing energy to the grid, right? It is an accessory use. And so we felt it was important to make that distinction. Next slide, please. The next reason is that in our code currently, and I apologize, it's hard to read, but what it says for solar power generating facilities, it says non-commercial solar power generating facilities are allowed in all zoning districts without a conditional use permit. That's in table 320. Or in chapter 320, this one happens to be table 4, but it's in all of the tables where solar generation facilities exist. Underneath it, you have the same language for wind energy conversion systems, and it refers to a different section. Next slide, please. So if you take a look at the definitions in Title 15, Chapter 1200, for wind energy conversion, you have a definition for private use wind energy conversion systems that basically says a system consisting of a wind turbine, power, or supporting structure and associated control or conversion electronics for the purposes. Can you move that box, please? Sorry, I don't have it. Actually, I do. For the purpose of providing electrical power to a lawful principal use located on the same parcel. Private WCSs are considered accessory uses and are permitted in all zoning districts without the requirement of a conditional use permit, provided the system meets all the requirements of subsection 15.335. And there's a reason, if you go to 335, it has to deal with the height of the tower and the setback on the height. And I don't really need to read on there. But if you look in the same section, solar power facility does not have a similar definition in there. And so we felt that that was probably an error when Title 15 was written. It was probably omitted because it is in that table and it implies that it follows the same process in that table, but it doesn't have a definition. And so that's why we thought that for consistency purpose, it probably made sense to put that in there. Whoops. And again, what that does is if somebody has a primary use, data center, warehouse, something along those lines, something that we can make a determination is similar to that, then it allows for a solar facility or battery backup to support that that project. And one of the other things that, well, never mind. I'll get to it later. Next slide, please. And so the other thing that we added in there on the setbacks is the same language dealing with PUD for solar projects, and added, we had geological feature or building in there, because if it's behind the building and you can't see it from the road or anywhere else, then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to restrict the use. And so we added that, proposed to add that in there. Next slide, please. And of course, just the same language on the plan unit development process and the fire protection district. Next slide, please. Oops. Energy storage. I'm just going to put that right there. Similarly, we added a little bit to the definition of the energy storage systems, and again in conformance with that chapter 300 or 320 table. as a part of the original ordinance, we had proposed to include the same language in there, but realized that, again, our definitions didn't include the exemption if it's located on the same parcel and is an accessory use to those other uses. So we felt that it was important to put that in there to make it consistent. Next slide, please. You'll see the same language for setbacks regarding a PUD. Next slide. And the same conforming changes for plan unit development. Next slide. So I wanted to take a moment just to add a little bit of additional background, maybe to this ordinance. And so, you know, I know in the last presentation, we focused pretty heavily on the safety aspects of it, and I still think that's very important. But this is a zoning ordinance, not a building code ordinance. And with zoning, I mean, it's just as much about quality of life and maintaining the characters of the communities as it is about the safety. And so I'm kind of going to run through this a little bit. We received a letter from BLM last week, which we've included as late backup regarding solar projects. Something interesting that I found is that, you know, when they did their presentation back in April, there was 5 projects that they listed. I went back and checked in their presentation, but in the letter that they listed, there were 12. So there's been a change in the last 2 months on the number of projects. And if you take a look at the number of acres, some of these I've heard of, some of them I haven't. If you take a look at the number of acres, they're pretty large projects. You can go to the next slide, please. And a couple of them are to be determined, but the application has been received. And if you exclude Libra 1, which is not in Lyon County, and you exclude the ones that are to be determined, you still end up with 23,237 acres of proposed projects currently on BLM. It's one of the reasons that I feel like this ordinance is important to have some standards and you know, to help mitigate some of the potential impacts of renewable energy projects. You remember with the Libra 1 project, we spent 2 years as a cooperating agency on that. I know the entire time our point was that East Walker Road was probably not suitable for that project. We wrote letters. We were heavily involved with that project, and at the end of the day, BLM chose to make East Walker Road the primary access for that project. I think with the conditional use permit process, that gives this board a little bit more control over that type of thing and how we mitigate those impacts. And so you know, the types of things that this ordinance addresses are the types of concerns that you know, I've heard from the commission through various commission meetings, what was requested as a part of this ordinance, and from what we've heard from the public. Now, not everyone from the public comes to every meeting, so there's obviously going to be differing opinions out there, but you know, I want to address that as a part of this presentation. I put together some maps of just the ones that where we know about where they're planning on putting them. Next slide, please. This is Artemisia Solar Project. We have these maps. They actually met with us because there used to be a variance process that BLM would require them to go through, where they had to meet with the local jurisdiction. BLM has since removed that process through the Western States Solar PEIS that got approved at the end of last year. This project is a significant amount of land in Mason Valley. You can see that road there that's not labeled is actually 95A. This project straddles 95A, and I'm concerned that there would be a glare problem in the afternoon because that is all south facing. In addition, you have all of this on the left-hand side to the west, up around the Dairy and Sunset Hills area. Next slide, please. This is just a different map of the same project, just showing where that's at. Next slide. This one is the Sleepy Orange project. This is out on 95A. out east of town, heading towards Mineral County. I actually think that a lot of this project is probably an appropriate location based on our ordinance, except for the portion where that's right next to the road, which I think again can create some hazards. Next slide, please. This one is the highway solar project in almost an identical area. We were not provided a map for this one, but based on the description, this is the general area of it. I don't have specifics as to where this is going to go, but again, if it crosses the highway or is right adjacent to the highway, I think there's some challenges there. And then finally, this is the BLM Western States Solar PEIS that got approved. It removed the variance process. Excuse me. But it also made 209,000 acres of BLM land available for solar development in Lyon County. All the green that you see, except for the Waboka Wilderness down there, is open for solar. And so if you look at the areas, you've got a lot of BLM land opened up along the rivers, East Walker, West Walker, a ton of land in Smith Valley that's opened up, and then up along Silver Springs along the Carson River. Hard to see, but there's about 2,000 to give you a sense of the scale. This section here is a piece that was included as a part of our potential lands bill request. That's about 2,000 acres. So you can see that it's a pretty large area. Something else that I want to point out is that this map also includes Douglas County, Carson City, and Story County, and southern part of Washoe County. While there's less BLM land in those counties, there is also a ton less solar. It doesn't look like it's proportionate. Looks like Lyon County is getting a lot of that. So I want to point that out. And finally, the last thing I want to touch on is just potential impacts of renewable energy projects in general. Impacts of transportation during construction is a huge one. We hear about that all the time. It seems to be what a lot of people are concerned about when we talk about these projects. There's really no way around it. I mean, there's different ride sharing things and stuff that the developer can do, but I think that's all stuff that needs to be handled as part of a conditional use or a PUD process where we can come to an agreement on that. Impacts the quality of life, if they're right in adjacent to neighborhoods or adjacent to communities, I think there's some challenges with that. I know I wouldn't want to open my back door and see solar 100 feet from my property. It's not why I bought my property. And I'm sorry to talk about myself on this, but as a Lyon County citizen, I also feel like it's important. Fencing off access to public land, including river access, is a big one. As I said, a lot of the land on that last map is along the rivers. These projects, doesn't matter which type it is, they end up fencing it off. It closes off access to the public. I'm an outdoorsman, and I like to get out and use our public lands. I think it's one of the best assets that we have. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about was impacts to transmission capacity. And this one may not be necessarily intuitive, but it really depends. If a project has a power purchase agreement with NV Energy, and by the way, I did not consult with NV Energy on this. This is just my own research on this. But if a project has a power purchase agreement with NV Energy, that's one thing. It adds capacity to the system. But if they don't have a power purchase agreement and it's speculative, right? They're selling that, they're potentially going to be selling that power outside of the area, but they have to use NV Energy's transmission lines to do so. And that just takes up capacity for other businesses that could potentially move in. And so I would argue that there's a potential impact to future economic development. I know we've had many discussions recently about power capacity and its effect on Lyon County. And it's something that I wanted to point out because it's not necessarily an obvious impact. So with that, I'm next slide. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Go ahead, Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Mr. Askin. I agree, we need something in place for sure, but if doing some homework on the geothermal, we go to page 11
11 of the presentation or,
of this, of the board packet.
oh,
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah. Hold on, that in the ordinance as proposed or stuff.
I believe. Think of the ordinance as proposed. That's what we got.
I,
There we go. I think that's it. All right, so just a few things. First of all, geothermal generating systems, as far as 15.336.08. There are several state and federal agencies that regulate this already, correct?
yes.
Yeah, okay. So on part C there, I believe it's line 29. If required, outside consulting services for data and modeling reviews shall be the financial responsibility of the applicant. Is that within our purview to require that?
Yeah, the board can regulate that. But that's actually already existing language. There's no proposed change.
Right, but so I'm just for clarification, okay. So on number one, then right below that on line 36, is that prior to commencing a geothermal exploration project? Is that for private land or is that for both public and private?
That would be for both.
For both, okay. 43. Statement, line 43 there, statement in which the applicant agrees to provide the county access to the data used to develop the conceptual aquifer model. Is a geothermal model, geothermal model, is that available at this point? Or is that not in the process?
So I think that's the data that they're using to create the model. So
Okay.
we wouldn't have a model.
So they're.
Yeah.
Okay, pulling that. 45 there, this section appears to mix a discussion of the notice of intent to conduct exploration and the submission of geologic data, would not, is that normally disclosed to the public at this point or no?
Well, so the way this ordinance is written, that's current language. It's not a part of the changes. So
Right, but since we're.
Yeah.
Doing this,
yeah, so I guess if you're asking if that's our standard process currently, yes, I don't know that we've had a geothermal project come forward since I've been.
Right. Well, and since we're doing this, I just want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like we're behind on the solar a little bit, and that's not necessarily our fault. We got dealt some cards from BLM approving, I get that. The next page, line 3, again, that's private or public ground, is that correct? Prior to commencing a geothermal exploration project. A private and BLM ground?
So unless it states otherwise, it would be both.
Okay. Just about done. 7E there. Geothermal well gathering systems and power generation facilities. In order to establish a geothermal well field gathering system and or power generation facility, the following items shall be submitted to the community. Is this portion redundant? Attempts to duplicate efforts of multiple state and federal agencies? Should we rewrite this section to focus on county and land compatibility or no?
So again, this was adopted when Title 18 or Title 15 was adopted in 2018. I'm not sure what the intent was at the time. And so that's certainly a discussion that we can have.
Okay. And then 4, I know there's some changes here, but proximity to domestic existing wells. All wells in Nevada are required to meet very specific design and engineering standards. I understand that. Requiring a 3,000-foot setback from an adjacent owner's private well is this, are we, because it has to be approved, wells have to be approved, right?
Mhm.
So are we over restrictive on this? I'm curious.
I mean,
I don't know the answer. I'm just,
yeah, I mean, I think that you want to make sure that you're minimizing impacts to residence wells. The 3,000 foot was already in there for private wells. What we changed in there was adding 3,000 foot instead of 1/2 mile for municipal wells, and then we added ag wells in there as well. Make sure that we're protecting all of that.
and then last couple on the next page, number 2 on line 25. The project shall require 2 separate traffic studies. So is it my understanding a road maintenance agreement is required to be in place whereby any and all impacts to the county road system are the responsibility of the developer?
As part of a conditional use permit, yeah.
Okay, so
And the reason for the 2 studies, and I think we've touched on this in the past, but there are very different impacts between the initial phase, the construction phase of it, where you could see thousands of trips a day
right,
for a big project versus the operational phase, which
so that's the 2.
10 trips a day, yeah.
And then the last one, finally, a reclamation on the last lines there. A reclamation and decommissioning plan is applicable regardless of the life of the project. Is that correct? It doesn't matter the length of life of the project. It's
Yeah, as a part of that plan, they would have to notify us. I mean, if it's a 100-year project, then obviously that plan is going to look very different than a 10-year project or a 20-year project.
right. And then have we looked, does this meet what I believe it's AB 70 that Lombardo just signed? Does this jive with all of that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Right on. That's all I had on the geothermal. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Before we move to public comment? Okay, I'm gonna open it up for public comment and we'll start off within the room. You'll be held a 3-minute time limit. Please respect the time of everybody that's in the room and online. And don't be redundant on saying the same thing. If you agree with somebody, say you agree with the people that talk positive or negative. But please don't just stretch it out to hear the same thing over and over. Go
Good
ahead,
morning, members of the council,
state your name.
my name is Steve Hara, business manager of Labor's Local. 169. Yeah, so good morning, commissioners and Chairman Scott Keller. So you guys are probably wondering what's going on with all the orange. So, yeah, so we're members of Labor's International Union. So when we heard this coming up and given that that I represent people in Reno, Lyon County, all the northern part of the state, everything north of Highway 6 is what Local 169 represents. So we have members that live in Yerington, Burnley, Winnemucca, Elko. I mean, we have people all over the northern part of the states. That's why we're here. And we heard that this was gonna be coming up. So we're in support of 2502-02. So hopefully you guys will take in consideration so the job creation that it means for us. For us, it means jobs. We and good paying jobs, family supporting jobs that come with health and welfare, pension, so and a good living wage where someone can support their family and pay for the car payment, pay for the mortgage, pay for everything. So that's what these jobs mean for us. In regards to everything that's going on in Nevada, I think you know what's in front of you is it's kind of a testament to, you know, are we gonna stay behind or are we gonna stay on track in regards to the job creation, the good paying jobs that come our way. I think we should stay within you know with what's needed to support and you know for the jobs. We have people into our local currently today. We have people moving in from Mississippi, from other states that are coming to Nevada to move, to work, because they know that we have the jobs and our jobs are someone can afford to support their family. Someone can afford to send their kids to school and pay for everything that they need to pay for the rent or the house and possible car payment. So that's my name is Eloy and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Did you sign in?
No, I didn't, but I will. I didn't think that was gonna take 3 minutes. Sorry.
Good morning. I'm a little calmer than the other day. With all due respect, when they built the largest substation and our building in the world, straight across from our ranch, we didn't come in and complain about it. We went with it and it's reality. I understand the concerns about solar. I've had them myself and I explained that to you, but it is reality. It is a law in the state of Nevada that by 2030, we're gonna have 50% from solar, wind, which I don't like, but you know, so we have that coming to meet us. I'm not sure where I am on what you've done here. You've done some good things and in changing it, but the problem is it's the half-mile setback and it's private property. And the half-mile setback basically sends it away. There are unintended consequences to everything we do, and I hope that you commissioners keep that in mind. One of the unintended consequences is, and it's happening in Smith Valley, which I know a lot of them are against solar. So, but what needs to be understood is 57% of the decreed water in that valley has been sold to the lake, and it is leaving. So how does that transcend to Mason Valley and then as a whole, the whole county? The answer is that right now, and I'm not threatening or anything else, I'm just telling you reality. We can sell to the state of Nevada our underground water rights for $10,000 an acre. We can sell to NIFWIF to take to the lake for around $7,000 or $8,000. That's $18,000 an acre. Dry it up Here comes the sand blowing across the road, and here comes tumbleweeds. We have gotten, it's just a really horrible unintended consequence gonna happen all over this valley. Anywhere that you don't see row crops, that's what you're gonna get. So, solar, okay, we don't all love it, but we can do a lot of things with less than a half-mile setback that have to do with landscaping and that have to do with possible farming up to it, which I think they've got some pictures here in Colorado, which is a very liberal state, the opposite of us, and that's what they've done. What am I asking you? I came up here to say, would you table this? I heard the comments, sir, and I heard them, and I think I understood them, that you're trying to separate different projects. I think that is smart and good. Lastly, Yerington and our entire community, which transcends to the rest of it. We have economic problems here. The sheriff is sitting back there. He told me at a funeral a day ago that in his 20 years here, he's watched the economy go bang, 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 and the social economic problems that come along with it. I know that each of you live in a different place and that each problem is different. That's why I kept saying, try and keep each place different from the other, because I know you don't want solar right on top of Fernley, blah, blah, blah. Last thing, we need jobs. There are commitments from many people in this town to do things. There is a possibility of getting a golf course, and our family, I'm gonna say it, we have committed to putting 7 acres into ball fields out on Goldfield, which might help you in the future. With your, thank you, with what you have going on over at the jail. Thank you very much, sir.
Did you sign in?
Hello, members.
I'm not gonna pull like I did last time, all right? Sorry. Thank you.
Hello, members, I'm J.R. Maysel. I'm a resident of Lyon County for 52 years. And I did the projects over at the fish hatchery in the 80s. And I love this county. And I would love to pull myself out of retirement, because I've been retired for 6 years in the labors, 34 years working in the labors. I would pull myself out of the retirement to actually run this project and work on it. And I think it would be a good asset to Lyon County for, you know, money for all our kids and for the whole county, you know, Fernley, Dayton, everybody. And I think it would be a good project for to make money for the county, you know, and for all the business, for everything, you know. And I would like to see it done, you know. And I love this county, and I come from California to here, and I've raised my kids, my grandkids, everything. So I would love to see this project go. Thank you very much, guys.
Did you sign in?
Yeah, I signed it.
Thank you, JR.
Thank you.
Tell you what, if we could, I'll move the sign-in sheet out that he signs in over here, and then if we could have everyone line up.
Okay. So we're moving the sign-in sheet over to the desk over here. Go ahead and line up on that side over there for everybody that's going to want to speak on this, so that we know how many people are speaking and how long we're going to be here. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman Keller, members of the board. My name is Michael Brady. I'm a second generation union member of Laborers Local 169. I'm a organizer and tribal liaison for them. I want to mirror what my business manager Elo Hara said, but I also want to state as well. But for the record, I'm not speaking for any tribe that's in the local area. But what I am speaking for is some of the tribal citizens, particularly in the Walker River area, that are in support of this ordinance because of the jobs that it will potentially produce that are very much needed in this local area. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I don't think we're talking about a particular project. We're talking about the ordinance.
Leslie Shanae from Wellington. Thank you. I think the ordinance is really well thought out and researched, and I think a lot of places across the western states are coming to the table too late, and there's a lot happening in communities that they're not able to backtrack and fix and mitigate. So I do appreciate that you're definitely looking at that. I noticed in some of the materials, one of the companies kind of fluffed off the recent fire with the battery storage in Monterey County, California. And being from Monterey County, California, and having people over there, I don't think that they would agree with what was written in there about why it occurred and some of what's happening there now and the lawsuits that are starting to occur, and that even the state we all hate is looking to tighten up some of their ordinances because of what they're learning about some of this stuff that's coming in. So I just ask you to take that all into consideration. There are plenty of places in the western states, Nevada included, for projects like these, but local government like you need to have that decision on the siting and protection of community members. And the visualization I give you is a garden hose that's 100 feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair. My name is Travis Crowder. I'm the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Mason Valley. I moved to Arrington 25 years ago, accepting a position with a brand new Boys and Girls Club. I desperately needed due to overwhelming low income families and extremely low employment opportunities. To put this in perspective, a widely accepted and general indicator to fairly define these challenges in our county are just looking to the free and reduced lunches that we see in our schools. At that time, the defined percentage truly does depict what the picture looks like for our families and the communities that we often work on. In the case of Arrington, as an example, 25 years ago when I started, Mason Valley was second in Lyon County at below the poverty level, only trailing Silver Springs. The need was clear and evident. And 25 years later, that's still the case today. That all being said, in 25 years since we opened, we've grown to include communities in Dayton, Silver Springs, Hawthorne, while adding in 2023 our first licensed childcare facility. We also are nearing our goal in securing necessary funds to start breaking ground on 4 acres of land that we have in Silver Springs. All of this growth isn't shared, not just to brag, but just to know that these services continue to rise. Based on our county's needs, all of these sites are nearly capacity. And in the case of our licensed childcare facility that we just opened, it was full before we even opened the doors. It is clear that the need for opportunities like renewable projects, including the projects that are being discussed today, are essential for what is needed now and into the future. The initial employment spike in the beginning would be welcomed and a provided boost. However, the taxes generated for the county long-term would no doubt help the current situation that I mentioned earlier, especially in the area of health and human services, led by Shayla Holmes, who deals with this situation every day with her dynamic team. Please know that the Boys and Girls Club of Mason Valley will continue to reach out and work with these groups and others who want to partner and better serve the youth and our families. After all, if they want to benefit from the resources and opportunities that our great county has, they need to invest in these communities as well. I know these decisions are not easy and oftentimes divided down the middle, but one thing is certain: times are changing. We have to get ahead of it, and in this great county that we benefit from, we must consider the needs of the many and not just the few. Please continue to work with these projects and opportunities as we desperately need help of businesses like renewable energy and others that will no doubt be in front of you in the coming months and years, and I respectfully appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Ash Woods. I'm speaking on behalf of Copia Power. I'm here today to express our support for the staff recommended changes for the proposed ordinance. We've heard and respect the county's concerns regarding potential impacts of development within your community, and we think that the proposed changes to the ordinance provide a path forward that allows development and allows the county to reap the benefits of that development in a responsible way. And we're excited to work with the county to create projects that benefit the community as well as the state itself. So thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, board and staff. Nick Beaton, local involved resident. For the record, here to speak in favor of reducing the proposed setbacks or tabling the ordinance in front of you guys today for further conversation. The south end of Lyon County does not need to become some bustling metropolis, but we do need to sustain. And to sustain, we need to diversify. Agriculture in our area has kept the south end of Lyon County going forever with the rise and fall of mining projects surrounding our communities. As those ebbs and flows continue, our valleys are shrinking. Following this last school year, Yerington Elementary cut multiple teachers' positions, not because they could not fill them, but because they no longer needed them. The incoming kindergarten class this year is less than 70 kids, and that number continues to trend downward. On the economic side, Yerington's Main Street looks more and more empty as 2 more businesses are leaving within the next month. And the Yerington Main Street Committee has been told by several others that the next few months are make it or break it for their business. These high-level construction projects will bring significant and vital outside dollars to our communities in the form of room nights, shop visits, convenience store stops, and more. The permanent jobs will be the perfect balance of adding more population to our area with high-paying careers while not surging us to the levels that we see in other forms of industry. Again, I would implore the board to significantly reduce the proposed setbacks or other hurdles in the ordinance. I do think we need to make it just as easy as other areas for projects like this to come in and not harder. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Judith Harker, resident of Wellington. I want to commend the Board of County Commissioners and the county manager and staff for having the foresight and leadership to draft codes like this. I understand that we need to protect our residents, our watersheds, our groundwater, and our agriculture, and still encourage jobs in the community. And I think this has got a good balance to be able to do that. I think there are things in my letter to, in supplemental material, there are things that need to be clarified in this ordinance, but on the whole, I think it's good. As a resident who will border BLM land on 2 sides, I already have geothermal lease behind me, and it's also, according to the Western Solar Plan, open to solar development. So I'm I'm fighting it on two fronts here. But for me personally, that half-mile setback is essential, at least to clarify whether that setback includes a half-mile buffer to the boundary of the potential solar facility, where that would remain BLM land, or whether our property lines would be contiguous, and then the actual solar array would be a half-mile from the property line. I'm not clear about what the intent was on that. I do want to reiterate that I support responsible growth, job growth, in the south end of the county, in Yerington and in Smith Valley. But I reiterate also that it's up to the county to take the lead. And I'm really glad that our county is doing it, comparing it to other counties who are lagging behind and caught flat-footed in the view of the enormous amount of solar and renewable energy projects that we're all facing. I'm proud to be in Lyon County and at the forefront of what you guys are trying to do. So thank you.
Thank you. Next.
My name's Frank Del Porto. I'm from Yerington, Nevada for 2 or 3 generations. And I talked to you guys, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, about the project over in Mineral County and the road. And I asked you guys, I didn't care about the road. I asked you people about the water there. And nobody had any answers. And one of you people voted against it. The rest, against it, and the rest of you voted for it. There was one that stayed because he wasn't here. And one of the people on your crew said, I should have went to Mineral County and decided where to get the water, should have protested. Well, now I know the project was sold and there's no water. They're looking for water. I'm surprised that you people didn't realize water is so important there, and you should have took care of that. And Mineral County's making all the money, and we're footing the bill for that. with our roads. Second of all, I've been here all my life. This town is going downhill terribly, terribly. All we're getting is low life people in it. All the good people are leaving, dying. We used to be able to go to the hospital, get your tonsils out, have babies and stuff. Now we don't even do that in this town and stuff. And we need good, honest growth for this. And I think these projects that are coming up will bring good people with good growth, good paying jobs. And they see it, they'll stay. Silver Springs will get a few of those people. I see Dayton, it's growing like gangbusters over there. They're doing great. Fernley's doing great. But Yerington is in the hole, in the dump. And I appreciate you guys listening to me and have a good day.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Jerry Bryant, City Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Yerington. I stand before you today to also request that you reassess the setbacks as they're drafted in your ordinances. The setbacks to me appear to be very restrictive and may deter businesses from coming to our valley. As Mr. Del Porto mentioned, anything that we do not capture in terms of business, they will simply go somewhere else and we will have no control over their use of our roads, over the use of our areas. The best thing we can do is write language that is friendly to both business and to the future of our own economic future. Like you, I do have a desire to protect the natural landscape and beauty of our valley. I also understand that if we don't adapt, we'll have nothing to protect. There will be nothing left. Yerington desperately needs to diversify our economic landscape. Within our city limits, we are mostly residential and some retail. We rely heavily on our commissioners to write language that is friendly to industry outside of our city limits. We are very dependent on the actions you take for the future of our economic system here. I implore you to again reassess the setbacks to be more inviting to business, because every layer that you add as far as process goes, you're giving industry one more reason to go somewhere else. So please reassess that, put it back to draft mode, and let's come back and revisit this so that we can try to sustain our future and diversify our economic system here in Yerington. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Lydia. David Calderon from EDF Solutions. It's going to be short. Basically, we are respectfully requesting to table this for further discussions with the industry to come up with reasonable efforts to address the concerns that are in the county, which are valid, but that we can also work in a friendly environment business so that not only us, but all the industry can come up here and add something for the community. I'm not going to speak on behalf of other developers, but at least in EDF Power Solutions, we work with the community. The community is really important with us because we build projects and we stay for over 40 years. And it's really important for us to create this environment and to work with the local communities so that we can see them thrive. Thank you so much for all your support and thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning. For the record, Jason Sanderson. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here today to express strong support for bringing solar development into Mason Valley. My father, John Sanderson, served as Lyon County Economic Development Director. He spent years working to attract new industries to this region, always believing in the potential of Mason Valley to grow, to innovate, and to thrive. Today, we're standing at a moment that reflects exactly what he envisioned. We have companies that are ready to invest in this community, bringing with them clean energy, good paying jobs, and long-term economic benefits. This is the kind of progress that puts Lyon County on the map as a place that welcomes smart, sustainable development. These projects aren't just about solar panels, they're about creating opportunity. They're about future-proofing our economy, supporting local infrastructure, and ensuring that our children and grandchildren have every reason to stay and build their lives here. Let's embrace this momentum Let's be the county that says yes to innovation, yes to growth, and yes to the kind of legacy we can all be proud of. I believe my father would be excited to see this day, and I hope we would move forward together to make it a reality. Thank you very much. Sorry, one more point. I also have, my family owns some property in Yerington that we would be willing to talk about helping with moving the ball fields like Mr. Mazzini was explaining earlier. So we are also involved with that too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next. If there's any more public comment, get in line.
Good morning, County Commissioners. My name is Paul Shapiro. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Yerington. And my background, actually, I spent a couple of years working in the renewable energy business, working primarily with geothermal plants and solar plants and some hydro plants. So I have some experience in that area. And a couple of things that I'd like just to be considered as we're looking at doing these projects, the impacts to Yerington. So a lot of this is happening in and around Yerington, and I'm very concerned about our roads. If you've driven around Yerington, you know what most of our roads look like. I'm concerned about services. Our hospital, pretty small. The demand on services for that. Housing, obviously, is also an issue. And our water and sewer, primarily. Both water and sewer, but sewer is a big deal. As we bring in all of these people for construction, there's a lot of use of everything that we have in town. So as you're making these different deals, these conditional use permits, please consider the impacts that it's going to have on the city. I think it's a good deal to move forward with these things, but we just need to carefully consider to make sure that the citizens of Lyon County and the citizens of Yerington are also protected from the financial burden that some of this can bring to us. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next.
Jim DeChambeau. Is again, as I've told you before, just say no to solar. We don't need it. We don't need to lose 25,000 acres of our public land and access to solar. Once we lose it, we don't get it back. We've seen projects come in before that were going to save Lyon County, Mason Valley, Yerington, Airmetco. We saw what happened there. A huge disaster. We saw Jeff Page's memorial.
Could you please refrain from using people's names?
We saw the Miracle Mine come in, was going to save Lyon County, was going to give 400 jobs in Yerington. It didn't. There's maybe 40 jobs out there from Yerington. And it's shut down because we knew it was a wrong deal at the time, but it was approved. In getting that, we got forced on 47,000 acres of wilderness area. We're giving away, selling for $17,000 an acre, valuable farmland that will never ever come back and be farmed again. There should be no solar on farm ground at all. Put it on government buildings, county buildings, city buildings, none on farm ground. And where these projects are proposed there's valuable resources out there in the way of hunting, in the way of recreation, livestock grazing, wild horses, which are also a huge problem in this county that nobody's taking a stand on. I don't know if anybody in this county has talked to the Nevada Department of Agriculture on their stand on this, or the American Farm Bureau or the Nevada Farm Bureau. But I know they're not in favor of this. And this amendment or proposal, this ordinance, as I told you the last time, the biggest problem I have with it is your bond deal on it. You will let them have a bank letter of credit for a reclamation bond. That's as good as a roll of toilet paper. We saw that with Airmetco. In 25 years, when these people go bankrupt and disappear, who's left with the cleanup and the cost. We know these solar panels don't last the 25 years that they're saying they last. You approved a disposal facility in Silver Springs that can't possibly handle all of these in 25 years.
Yeah, your time is up.
We're going down a bad road.
Last chance in the room, public comment. Please go over there and sign in.
Can I do it afterwards or first?
Everybody else had a process. Thank you.
Yeah, Scott Lomry. Sent you guys a letter a couple weeks ago. I hope you guys read it. It goes back to everything everybody else has said in this room today. Between Nick, Travis, Brian, and everybody else, you gotta have, right now in this community, you don't have a sustainability plan. If I look at your guys' job, your master plan is cookie cutter, right? You have to go back to that. You have to look at that. You have to have some of these projects in categories as you move forward. Right now, you don't have them. So after all the confusion, listen to what's going on. To me, the setbacks, I was just in Colorado, the setbacks there are 50 feet from the road. They've got all kinds of oil rigs right on the side of the road and everything else, right? It's because of this, they wanted sustainability and it was for their communities, right? If you look at our community right now, the $24,000 annual salary, people aren't making it here. I look at the test scores in the school, we haven't had a kid pass the ACT in 4 years. That's with the minimum scores. It's our job to be there for our grandkids and everything else. And I'm getting choked up about this. But the same around all of these projects, the data centers, I don't care what anybody said, Tesla's coming, all these cars, all this different stuff that's coming. You need data centers, you need things like that. They bring better jobs, they bring more money, they bring those things. So you bring that level of poverty up a certain ways, and maybe we can survive in Lyon County. I know I'm talking about Yerington, but we got to survive. And it's not happening. So to me, making a decision today on these setbacks and everything else and kiboshing all these programs is just crap. You got to go back to the board and you need to come up with some kind of committees to look at this thing and do something that's realistic. You can't have a fixed mindset like some of us do in this room. You got to be thinking of the jobs that haven't been created yet as we move forward. So I appreciate everything you guys have done. I was with the school district forever. I worked with school boards and everything for years. Do not make any decisions until you've vetted it throughout the whole process. I've got friends, I've got family members around this whole thing, and making a decision today is just not right. If I can't go truck around next year with my friends because this thing's gotten away and I got a control wrestling program, I'm going to be back in front of this board. Because it's just not right. Just not right. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone in the room? And when you close public comment, go on. Brent Lovett, you have your hand up first.
Good morning, board. Brent Lovett, 5015 Onyx Street, Silver Springs. Today, you're proposing changes to Title 15 Land Use and Development Code without any proper public workshops, expert recommendations, stakeholder input, town board hearings, or planning commission hearings. It clearly states on our Lyon County website that we will do just that. We would have workshops and/or workshops. What you're proposing here today are massive changes that require transparency. Over the past 10 years, Lyon County Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners have only made a few revisions to Title 15, but only after long debates, public workshops, public hearings at local boards, public hearings at the Planning Commission, and finally the County Commission. Changes to the County Land Use and Development Codes require public hearings and notice. This is based on legal requirements designed to ensure transparency and to allow the participation in the decision-making process by the public. Why is this important? The democratic process. Land use decisions affect communities, so public input allows residents to voice their concern and contribute to shaping the future of their areas. It identifies issues. Public feedback can identify and clarify issues and recommendations that a single office may not have considered. It builds trust. Transparency and public participation builds trust between the communities and the government. In Nevada, it's generally considered illegal to make major changes to a county's land use and development code without providing opportunities for public input and holding public hearings. Failure to adhere to these requirements will lead to legal challenges, which we cannot afford. It is the due process challenges that will be raised that was inadequately noticed or opportunities to be heard. We beg you today to table any changes to Title 15 without first following all the notices, the public workshops, town board hearings, and planning commission hearings, long before it becomes before this commission. If you believe your proposed changes, take them to the workshops, plead your case to the voters. And if they are truly strong changes, they will survive the public test. Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Andy Blum. Had the pleasure of speaking with you a couple weeks ago about battery safety. Just wanted to add a quick comment that with the inclusion of the PUD language here, it does allow for projects to be looked down at a case-by-case basis to maybe incorporate some of the setback requirements that are already outlined in your Nevada fire codes, as well as other industry standards like NFPA 55. So just wanted to include that comment.
Looks like there's one more.
Andrew McKenna.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Andy McKenna with NextEra Energy Resources. I just want to thank the board and the staff for their collaboration and willingness to incorporate some revisions. At this point, I respectfully request, however, that we table this ordinance, echoing some of the comments that were made earlier. Believe that the setbacks in particular are still too restrictive. So thank you for your time and help. And again, we look forward to continuing to work with the county and being a partner with the county throughout.
Mark Jones. Jones, you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mark Jones here. I'm a little concerned that this process has been kind of rushed as far as changing code. Based on the fact that we haven't heard at the cabs, we haven't heard at the planning commission, we haven't heard it at county planning circles or anything. I think that this thing should be out to the public so the public can get their input in. And the best way to do that is to go through the process that we've set up as a county through our citizens advisory boards and the planning commission. I would like to see these things go back to those processes. And so that there's full disclosure and that we can feel comfortable that everybody's had their voice heard. Thank you.
So back before the board. Do we have any questions? Comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Casanelli.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with a lot that's been said today. Definitely not one to stand in the way of economic development and job creation. However, the setbacks, I still have a bit of a hang up. I like seeing the PUD option in here. I think that definitely needs to stay, but I'm still, and yeah, 100 feet setback, no. But I'm still looking at the existing 1,500 foot setback as something that I think everyone could live with, and I would agree that perhaps table this and do a little more work on it.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chair. This is great to have everybody here, first and foremost. But just kind of jotting down some things as I listen to the folks, respecting landowner rights, losing BLM ground left and right, private landowners for and against, 100-foot setbacks, great, but not in my backyard. I don't want next to my house, but there should be 100-foot setbacks. Questions about water, where we're getting water. Questions about jobs and the job creation, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, I haven't got an answer. I'm sure while these solar fields are getting built, there's great jobs. But once they're built, I don't know if I have an answer of how many people they actually continue to employ, or is it just a tax revenue that we may gain? I'm going on the record as saying I'm not doing any vote on anything just to get more tax money. So, but I agree with you, ordinance, but I do want to get this right. I appreciate all the work that our county manager and county staff have done, but I'm in line with Commissioner Casanelli, if I heard him correct, and wouldn't mind a workshop where we sit down and find a middle ground, because we do have a bunch of people on both sides of this, and I want to get it right. So.
Yeah, this is something that I've worked on with the Nevada Association of Counties and the National Association of Counties for about 3 years now. And what we have here is pretty much what you're going to see as a standard across the whole Western United States. It's not going to put us at a disadvantage. And while I think we can have a discussion about setbacks, with the number of applications we have, we need to have something done now. And so I'm in favor of approving this now, and we can still continue the conversation.
Any more comment?
Yes,
Mr. Hockaday?
having run to the Western Interstate Region Conference in South Dakota, there's some geothermal technology that's coming online. I see that instead of using thousands of acres for solar panels, we can use hundreds of acres to drill wells. The technology is moving ahead because of the amount of land these solar panels are taking. Looking at the setbacks, I believe that since Nevada has 11 million acres that have been pretty much designated to have solar panels, we have a significant amount of property in other areas that we're looking at possibly putting solar panels and not next to residential areas, which is kind of what brought this all about. I'm very concerned that we're not taking into consideration the people that are living in our county and saying that, 100 feet is ridiculous. Maybe a half a mile is a little too far, but with the 11 million acres out there, I think we can probably find enough room in other places with that 23,000 acres in Lyon County to move these a bit away from our residential areas and our roads. And that's kind of where I'm standing on this. So hopefully we can come to a conclusion today of one sort or another.
Thank you. I think that this ordinance actually puts language in there that protects Lyon County. And I think we have to get it in there before the wave comes, before we have a lot of projects and we don't have anything that protects us. This, I think, does a good job of that. Adding the PUD, the CUP process, makes it so that people can go through the process. We're not shutting down any development or anything else. We're just saying you might have to do an extra step to get it in certain locations. There's 23,000 on public land, 23,000 acres, I think you said. I don't think we need 23,000 acres of solar panels. There's probably a lot that we need, not 23,000 acres in Lyon County. It will be a good fit in a lot of areas. In other areas, it isn't. I was looking at that map in Silver Springs, where that's okay to put solar fields is where the community does not want one. So I think this process is a good thing. I'll be supporting this ordinance the way it sits, and That's how I feel. Do it. So I'll entertain a motion, or do you guys, anybody have any questions for county manager?
I had three things that I wanted to touch on, if I may.
Go ahead.
So just things that I thought about as folks were talking, and I know Commissioner Hockaday brought up geothermal. There was just recently an order that came down that BLM has to process an environmental impact statement for geothermal within 14 days or 28 days. That was 28 or 14? 28 days, sorry. 28 days. We already have a challenge trying to get out comment letters and things. You can't do, in my opinion, a thorough review of environmental impact statement in 28 days. And it just doesn't provide us enough time to comment on it. To touch on the setbacks a little bit, I did meet with a few developers after this ordinance was proposed. And said, okay, I understand that you have concerns about the setback. What is reasonable in your mind then? And the answer that came back was 100 feet, that's the industry standard. All right, that's significantly less than the 1,500 feet that we have in our current ordinance. Right, so, I think that we were willing to listen on that. I was willing to listen on that and maybe come back with a recommendation to the board, but a 100-foot setback was not a recommendation that I could make. And then the last thing I want to touch on is the process, because I've heard this come up a little bit, but this process hasn't followed anything different. It meets state law. This is the public hearing. This is the public's opportunity to have comment and input on it. We don't send every ordinance to the citizen advisory board. So the board has requested that in the past for certain things, but that's not really the standard. And typically with a commissioner requested ordinance, which this was, we don't take it to the planning commission. So I do want to point that out. There was no irregularity in the process. That's all I got.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve an ordinance amending Lyon County Code Title 15, Chapter 336, Section 6 through 9, and Section 12, and Chapter 320, Table 320-1 and 320-4, amending conditional use permit standards for new commercial wind generation, geothermal generation, and solar generation, and adding conditional use permit standards for energy storage systems, amending table of allowed uses, rural residential, commercial mixed use, commercial and agricultural resource zoning districts to add energy storage systems as an allowable use, and table of allowed uses, employment and industrial zoning districts to add energy storage systems as an allowable use in Lyon County with staff recommended changes.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. Just Jacobson or did?
Nay.
Nay.
Chair Keller, and mine is based on just running the workshop, not that I'm against this by any means. Just for the record.
And me as well. I'm in favor of having a code for sure, but just, hanging up on I'd like to see the 1,500-foot setback. So.
Thank you. The record reflect that Commissioner Jacobson and Commissioner Casanelli voted against the measure. Okay, it is 10:28 and we're going to take a 10-minute recess. All right, let's bring this Commissioner's Chambers back to order. Going to 6B, time certain at 9:00 a.m. Public hearing, Bill 25-01 for possible action. Approve an ordinance amending Lyon County Code Title 15, the Lyon County Land Use and Development Code, Chapter 348, Section 4, to create design standards related to the roof form for multifamily residential structures in Lyon County and other matters properly related thereto. Mr. Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director for the record. So this is the second hearing on this item of the proposed ordinance to amend Title 15, Chapter 348 to add Section 4, which would add standards to the roof form of multifamily residential structures. The ordinance was proposed on May 15th, so similar to the previous ordinance, if the board wishes to run through it again for you're the board or the public. There's all the same information in the slide deck to do so. If not, we can go to there were some staff recommended changes based on comments from the board.
You guys just want to go to the recommended.
So in response to feedback from the board, should be slide 6. Oh, sorry. Yep, thank you. The verbiage highlighted in green is to provide clear direction and respond to concerns about rooftop visibility. So the updated standard still requires full screening of rooftop mechanical equipment, but now clarifies that screening must prevent visibility from adjacent public street, adjacent residential uses, or public accessible locations located at or below the elevation of the highest occupied floor. So there was concern about potential hillside development above these structures or roads or any of those publicly accessible locations. So we wanted to clarify that in the ordinance and make it so that rooftop mechanical equipment just had to be screened from a location at or below the highest occupied floor. That's the only staff suggestive edit. Other than that, the ordinance remains the same, and I'll be available for any questions or concerns that the board may have.
Do we have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Castelli.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I mean, generally, again, I'm not one opposed to or normally in favor of creating additional layers of code that would hamper any development. Was initially against this, but after I've talked to several developers of multifamily that were actually surprisingly in favor of this, including one that built a lot of multifamily in Dayton. But the issue that I have had while I was discussing it with different developers was the lack of, and I know this was brought by one of the commissioners, that seems to be the problem is the process and not having the opportunity for some of the trade associations to vet this further, workshops, cabs, planning commission, what have you. So I'm seeing that as a bit of an issue that I have with it. That's it.
Any other comments on the board? Okay, I'm going to go to public comment in the room.
And I just wanted to clarify, sorry,
Go ahead.
that this was all noticed through the same process as the previous ordinance. So there was no, as far as the intention of a different process occurring, there was no such thing.
Okay, any public comment in the room? Seeing close to the comment in the room, we'll go to online. Brent Lovett, you have your hand up?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Brent Lovett, 5015 Onyx Street, Silver Springs. I am a developer of Lyon Modular Homes in the Mineral Heights Apartments, plus a dozen other projects proposed within Lyon County. This board is proposing to change Title 15 for the sole purpose to force the design change for the only multifamily projects proposed within Lyon County, which I am the only person currently proposing to build such projects. In Nevada, it's not permissible for a county to change design code or ordinances solely to affect a single project or builder without demonstrating a public interest, which does not exist here. Changes the code for one project or developer violates the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. Government entities must act in a rational and consistent manner when making decisions like changing regulations. Changing design codes for a single project or builder would be considered an arbitrary action and lack the valid public purpose. Zoning and building codes are established to promote the public safety, health, and convenience comfort, and general welfare. Any changes to these codes should serve the public interest, not just the interest of a single person who dislikes a builder's design. While minor variations or exceptions may be permitted in specific instances, changing design codes solely to force a design change for a single builder is unfair and a violation of the principles of equal application of the law. The Nevada state government has been clear with the passage of the Nevada Housing Access and Attainability Act, AB 540 and AB 241, which addresses the state's housing crisis by focusing the initiatives that facilitate the building of more housing units. Nevada Governor's Office has demanded Lyon County expedite the permitting and review processes for attainable housing projects, reducing bureaucracy hurdles and facilitating development, not creating barriers as Lyon County is doing here today. Assembly Bill 241 demands infill development by speeding up the process to rezone commercial land for residential and mixed use, leading to more housing within existing communities, not creating barriers as you are doing here today. As stated in the Lyon County Title 15 code, the goals of the code are to structure the development code to allow and encourage flexibility in the design and the location of a diversity of development projects. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's not to restrict as you're doing here today. What you're proposing here today violates the goals of Title 15 and creates a forced roof design on multifamily units. What you're proposing to do today violates the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. What you're proposing to do today is arbitrary action and lacks the valid public purpose. What you're proposing to do today violates due process. The government is required to follow fair procedures when making decisions that affect your property rights. What you're proposing to do today violates the taking clause. The government cannot place excessive regulations that prevents anyone from making any reasonable use of their land. The actions and lack of actions of Lyon County will be considered inverse condemnation. Lyon County regulations or actions or lack of actions that significantly reduce the value or use of property without a formal eminent domain proceeding is considered an inverse condemnation. I beg you not to go forward with this today. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Mark Jones.
Mute this bad boy. Yes, I'm just gonna piggyback on that a little bit. Again, we have another commissioner brought forth, proposal. And I understand that, Andrew, the town manager got up and said, well, we don't necessarily have to notify these people. But that kind of puts a cloud over some of the stuff we're trying to do as a governing body. I think that I know you can, but again, is the word can, should we put these proposals out there without going through the cabs and planning commissions and get a community involvement in them? When we come to these meetings, you say, well, this is the public's meeting. Well, no, because your decisions have already been made on what you want in this proposal, and they haven't had an input in that proposal. So all I'm asking you to do is take your time to think about this a little bit. Go back to the areas that are being affected. Silver Springs is being affected by this one project. Has Silver Springs CAB even put in or weighed in on this to see if they agree or disagree with what we're trying to accomplish here? We must keep the public's opinion as part of our decision making, regardless if we can or don't have to. Thank you.
First, no more public comment. Bring it back to the board for comment or motion. Any comment? Commissioner?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. This issue and this exposure that we've had on apartments, I've been talking to the county manager about this for years. And we went back and forth deciding whether it would be more proper to require all apartments in every zoning district to require a CUP, or if it would be cleaner and simpler and faster for development to do it this way. And this is the least invasive way to address the issue with the development community. And as for public input, Silver Springs and Stagecoach are my district, and I can tell you that they are adamantly opposed to any apartments. And part of the reason I'm doing this is if we're going to have them, and we will need apartments, they at least need to be a quality, attractive product. So that's why I brought this forward.
Any other comments? I don't want to make a comment. One thing I do like it because it protects our rural character. I think that's a part of the quality of life in the rural areas that to protect that. This is a county-wide ordinance, just like the other one was. It isn't against a single project. He might feel that way. Public might feel that it's their project, but it has nothing to do with their project whatsoever. It might affect it, but this is a county-wide ordinance. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll do it. Move to approve an ordinance. Move to approve an ordinance amending Lyon County Code Title 15, the Lyon County Land Use and Development Code, Chapter 348, Section 4, to create design standards related to the roof form for multifamily residential structures in Lyon County and other matters properly related thereto.
I'll go ahead and second that. So motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Keller. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. Motion passes 5-0.
May I ask for clarification, Mr. Chair? Was that with the staff recommended changes?
The staff recommended changes.
Yeah, these votes still the same?
Same.
Okay. Brings us to number 7, Commissioner County Manager Report. Start with Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chair. Attended 2 Nevada Works meetings. Attended the room tax board meeting where we distributed $26,000 to the various organizations for advertising, bringing folks to their events. Want to do a shout out. They left, but Night in the Country, the Mason Valley Boys and Girls Club, were very unselfish, and so I just wanted to take my hat off to them for their actions on that day. Attended the Blue Ribbon Committee for North Lyon Fire last night, and finally attended Friendly High School graduation. I want to wish all those 298 students good luck and work hard. And all Lyon County seniors, but I attended the friendly one. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Hendricks.
And yes, I do want to congratulate our graduates from Lyon County. Attended some local graduation ceremonies as well as my granddaughter's graduation. Attended the poker event in the Sutro Tunnel. I want to thank Commissioner Casanelli. He put in a long, hard day's work on that, and that I'm sure raised a ton of funds. And had a meeting with Ed James, the director of the Carson Water Subconservancy District Board, to discuss what we want to see going forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Casanelli.
Thank you, Chair. Attended the Carson Area Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting, the Campo. There's some concern that there's going to be some delays with federal dollars. So NDOT is supposed to make up the gap on that if that occurs. We extended our agreements with NDOT on the consolidated planning grant funds that carry over. Attended the Quad County Regional group for the Community Health Improvement Plan in 2022 needs assessment, identified transportation as a barrier for healthcare and essential services from our county as well as others. So they're having some meetings to discuss how we can better serve our transportation gaps. That'll be some ongoing meetings with that. Didn't attend any of the high school graduations, but I did attend one of the kindergarten ceremonies, which was pretty entertaining to say the least. And congratulations to all the graduates. And I wanted to say thank you to Commissioner Hendricks for attending our Sutro Tunnel event. It was a great event. I was there, I think, 12 or 13 hours. It was very hot that day, and but it was a great success. And we, the Sutro Friends of Sutro Tunnel charity did just receive grant from Travel Nevada, just under $500,000 grant. So we're gonna, I'm really excited to see the additional construction efforts that are be continuing there. So thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Hockaday.
Yeah, congratulations to the graduates. It's always good to see people off to the workforce in the college. We had a planning commission meeting, which was extremely short. I did attend that. I think what it was, might have been 15 minutes or something, maybe 20 max. But also thanks to Deanie's Lucky Club for their events. They had a street dance last Friday night and also a car show on Saturday. I attended the car show. There were well over 200 cars. There were vendors, a lot of businesses getting stuff going on, people going in and out of the restaurants here. So that was a good deal for the businesses on Main Street. Also, the sheriff had their armored truck for display. I saw a lot of youngsters climbing in and out of that. Also had a meeting with Lyon Copper and Gold in dealing with their startup operations and different processes that they're going through to get their mining area back up in the Anaconda area. So.
Thank you. So I attended the planning commission that didn't happen. They pulled their one item and so that didn't happen. I attended the Intergovernmental Executive Committee for the Fountain Range Training Complex. The Navy gave their overview of the project. That included their MILCON program, their fiscal year 2025 plan updates, and an overall range overview. There was an update on the NEPA process. Progress, not process, and a cadastral report. And anybody that's interested in that, they can go to www.frtcmodernization.com and they have a running thing of what they're accomplishing in a 3-year outlook. That's all I have. County Manager, Mr. Haskins.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. I've been super busy the last couple of weeks with David Burketta retiring last Friday. I am the utility director at the moment too. So been sitting on a lot of meetings regarding Rolling A and the expansion that's going there, and also Aspen Creek and kind of next steps there. So I hope to be able to bring something back to the board soon on that. Yesterday was the deadline for receiving proposals for the CMAR for the that's construction manager at risk, I'm sorry, for the Dayton Government Complex. And we received 5 proposals, so we'll be reviewing that and coming up with a short list here very shortly. And I wanted to talk a little bit about because it's come up a few times, just process for ordinances, and I don't know, maybe it would be helpful to have an item on the agenda to discuss it, because I know we've had a few commissioners ask about it. I mean, like as I stated previously, we have been following the process that we've used in the past, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that we can't change that. Something I do want to point out though is that if I have to go, or if one person has to go to all of the advisory boards, citizen advisory boards, that's a 3-month process because you got 3 of them on one night. And so it takes quite some time to get all that done. So just some things to think about, and just want to point that out. And then finally, I just want to remind the board that we have the dedication for the Fernley Senior Center on Friday at 9 a.m. I realized Rebecca emailed me and let me know that the address was wrong. It's 104, not 105, or maybe I have that backwards now. It's 105. I'm sorry, not 104. I had it wrong in my email. So, but you should still be able to find it. So, anyway, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Move on to elected officials reports, and in our packet we have the assessor technology fee report, the clerk treasurer's technology fee report, and Lyon County assessor's ratio study for All those are for fiscal year 2025 through 2026. Then we have a report for the Dayton Justice Court Statistics Report. Is there any elected officials? Okay, move on to appointed officials reports.
Taylor Allison, Emergency Management Director. For the record, I just want to quickly jump up and say thank you to Chief Nightingale and Smith Valley Fire Protection District for hosting last Tuesday our wildfire preparedness barbecue. It was well attended from those folks, especially that live near Station 42, and we had Lyon County Sheriff's Office as well as NV Energy answering questions regarding wildfire preparedness. So overall, well attended, and big thanks, great food, thanks to Smith Valley Fire.
Thank you to all other appointed officials. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to 10 advisory board reports. Ten A, the Dayton Regional Citizens Advisory Board voted 5-0 to recommend the Lyon County Board of Commissioners approve a request to waive costs associated with providing water to the Dayton Valley Dog Park. This would include the meter fee and water usage portion of the bill. We have someone that's going to talk about that.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So that's just a letter of transmittal. That was an item that they had on their agenda. I'm still doing some more research on that. My understanding is when that dog park was created, there was an agreement, but I'm still trying to locate that. So figure that out.
So they're asking for
Mr. Chair, I attended the meeting and I think they worded it as any portion of the bill, and the discussion at the cab was what they're really concerned with is the meter fees that are charged during the off months when the irrigation is off and the meter is off. And Chris from the utilities department was there and indicated that probably would not be a problem for the 6 months that it's off. So.
Yeah, to touch on that, there is already an existing process for that. And so I think we did notify them about that. So maybe I'll get with Commissioner Casanelli and find out if we even need to have an agenda item on this, but or we can. Like I'm still doing some research on it.
So a little bit of clarity. I was on I might even been the chair of the Parks Board when that was formed. And they came down, and when we did that, the comments were, there's plenty of places to take your dog in Lyon County. And they said they wanted it right there for their own park. And we said at the board, as long as they took care of it, we didn't have a problem with it. And so they fundraised and did all that kind of thing. So I'd like to know what they're doing for fundraising, that kind of thing. As far as the off-peak hours, that should be a no-brainer. It's the same as vacation. So I'm not ready to take any action or anything.
This isn't an action.
Yeah, so. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Action will be taken on all items. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action and without an extensive hearing. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. Does anyone want to pull any item? Seeing none,
I don't need anything pulled, but before I make my motion to approve it, I just want to thank Honeywell Construction for their donation. And well, I guess it's not on there, so. With that, Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda 11A through 11K.
Commissioner Keller.
Okay, I got a motion, but I want to make sure I go to public comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that I was gonna make a comment about 11I. And that's the one about the donation from Honeywell. Is great that they've donated, but more than that, I really believe that when we do have the consent agenda, that donations should probably not be in there because they get glossed over. So I'm kind of saying at this point that no, don't need to pull it, but maybe in the future, it could be under a different section so that we do have that recognition kind of out in the open rather than hidden in the consent agenda.
I would agree with you on that. Does anybody from the public want an item pulled? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board.
I'll second.
He seconded it already. So we got a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Back to the regular agenda. Under community development, we got for possible action to approve the purchase of the remaining portion of a storm drainage easement totaling approximately 41,359 square feet and the storm drain canal or the storm drain canal and associated infrastructure located at 145 River Road and 1 Bill Idle Road, Mark Twain, Nevada, for a amount not to exceed $17,123, APN 016-341-08 and 016-341-34. Mr. Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director for the record. So the purchase of the remaining storm drain easement is essentially necessary to provide legal access for the construction of those key improvements to a storm drainage channel. The channel is intended to capture and convey that stormwater runoff from the Traditions development to the north. It's located north of the subject parcels, so that would be 145 River Road and then 1 Bill Itel Road, if I got that right. So stormwater from the Traditions project is currently conveyed southward beneath Highway 50 and enters the Cardelli ditch. So one of the key issues in the North Dayton Area Drainage Master Plan was the offsite runoff entering the ditch during storm events, which has historically resulted in adverse flooding impacts to adjacent residential properties. To address this, the modeling conducted as part of the ADMP, which is Area Drainage Master Plan, identified 7 key locations where offsite flows were directly impacting the Cardelli ditch. The recommended solutions involved engineered mitigations at these sites to reduce flood risk and preserve the ditch's functional capacity and improve regional stormwater management. The proposed channel alignment through the subject parcels corresponds to one of those identified problematic areas where improvements will help intercept and safely convey the flows toward the Carson River. So the proposed easements build upon the first portion of the easements, which the board approved on September 7th, 2023. That previously approved section is shown in the staff report in the lighter hatched area, and in the darker hatched area is the easement in reference today. So included also in the backup is the full appraisal conducted by Johnson, Perkins, and Griffin, which established the total valuation for the easement. Also provided is an allocation document that fairly divides the appraised value between the two properties. Essentially, it's the same family, I will say. It's all Greg Lehman. One of the properties is underneath his son's name, so we had to divide those up fairly, and that's why that allocation document was included. Throughout this process, I do want to acknowledge that staff has worked closely with the Lehman family to coordinate the appraisals, obtain surveying, and prepare the legal documents necessary to move forward with this acquisition. And I also want to personally thank them for their participation in acquiring all that necessary documentation. They've been great to work with, and I really appreciate everything they've done. I also want to note that staff has received a complete set of civil improvement plans for that storm drainage channel. So that's currently in review. These plans, like I said, are in review with the county engineer, and staff is working to ensure all the required documentation is there prior to a permit being issued for construction. It is also important to note that the drainage channel itself is a conditional approval of the tentative subdivision map for Traditions Village 2. Construction of the improvements is to be funded through a pro rata share from the development of the Trishna's project unless the developer opts to pursue full construction independently. And finally, the cost of acquiring the remaining easements will be covered by the Dayton Water Fund using source water protection fee revenues. I have confirmed with David Paquetta. I know his last day was Friday, but he has confirmed that there was sufficient funds available in that budget to support that acquisition. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner.
I'd just like to comment and thank you and the Lehman family for getting this done. It's a huge benefit for Dayton.
Comment. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the purchase of the remaining portion of the storm drainage easement totaling approximately 41,359 square feet for the storm drain channel and associated infrastructure located at 145 River Road and 1 Bill Idle Road, Mark Twain, Nevada, for an amount not to exceed $17,123, APN 016-341-08 and 016-341-34.
Second, I have a motion by Commissioner Hockenday, second by Commissioner Jacobson. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We'll bring it to the comptroller section. 13A for possible action. Lyon County Debt Management Policy and Capital Improvement Plan for 2025-2026.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record. This is one of your annual items. It's required by statute is to adopt a debt management policy and 5-year capital improvement plan. I've put together one for your consideration, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Foley? Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the Lyon County Debt Management Policy and Capital Improvement Plan for 2025-2026.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Brings us 13B for possible action, approve a resolution certifying and levying tax rates in Lyon County for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, contingent upon approval by the Nevada Tax Commission. Mr. Foley.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record. Another one of those, it's required every year to go through. The only changes from last year are the Smith Valley Fire Protection District, Central Lyon Fire Protection District, North Lyon County Fire Protection District, and City of Fernley all increased their tax rates by the amount that was allowed by statute, and they placed those in their budgets. We're still under the tax cap in all applicable areas, so we're within the law to adopt this.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Foley? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution certifying and levying tax rates in Lyon County for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, contingent upon approval by the Nevada Tax Commission.
I have a second.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 13C for presentation only, update on the Dayton Depot insurance claim.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record. I do apologize that this wasn't included in your packet originally, but it's only a listing of the salient points. Going through all of my records of different meetings I've had in person, different phone calls I've had, different dozens upon dozens, maybe hundreds of emails that have gone back and forth over the past 5 years. And this is one of those projects that is why I have less hair than I used to. But I'm just going to read through these. I know you have them, but for the record and for those online who don't have it, I'm going to read through the information that has happened. So on June 17, 2020, the Dayton Depot fire occurred and burned and destroyed the Dayton Depot. On 6/24/2020, we had completed all the applicable paperwork to file an insurance claim. And that was submitted on June 24th, 2020. On July 14th, 2020, the sheriff's report was received and we sent that off to the insurance. August 17th, 2020, the Historical Society had finished the salvage work after that to go through and get any materials that were on site that could be reused to rebuild the site. And then on September 17, 2020, the insurance had completed the property cleanup and removed all the debris from the property. On December 19, 2022, Loomis Engineering was who had been hired by the insurance, completed pre-construction work and costing. Now, there's a big gap there. Let me explain a little bit of that. First of all, I didn't have the information on when they assigned it to Loomis because that was on the insurance side. So I went through my records. I don't have when it happened. However, I do have record of numerous meetings with the Historical Society members and Loomis to go through and make sure that we documented everything. So this was a intensive process to go through with everyone to detail what was actually in the depot originally, historical pieces of that, and all of the important pieces to put together the engineer drawings at a replacement current modern construction. However, that's not what we wanted. We did this strictly to come up with a price, and then we had to figure out how to do historical restoration of this, which is part of the reason why this is a significantly longer process. And I have to have a public thanks. I should give a public thanks and will to all the members of the Dayton Community and Historical Society that have participated in all of this time frame to try and get us to where we are at the moment. And we'll go through and figure out where we are by the end of this. So then on that same date, December 19, 2022, Historical Society was contacted on their preference for construction document development. Now that we have the price, how do we move forward? How do we get this so it's the way you want it, historically accurate? On January 10th, 2022, the Historical Society, on their own dime, I might add, and they've done fundraisers for this. All of these costs, there's no cost to the insurance, no cost to the county on what the Historical Society has been doing. So that's another reason why it's taken quite a while, is they've tried to do as much as they can with volunteer services and minimal costs. And there've been a number of issues, health concerns, family members having issues, other people, dealing with dementia and some other different things during this process that have slowed the process down. But it's not like we haven't pushed through those, it's just taken more time. We had so they hired Alpine Engineering on January 10, 2022. On March 20th, 2023, they also hired Crom Engineering to help assist with compiling the complete construction documents, because it was a challenge to get enough time for Alpine Engineering to dedicate to the process. They added Crom Engineering as well. On April 25th, 2022, Crom Engineering reached out to Alpine Engineering for the Alpine Engineering AutoCAD file. July 7, 2023, Alpine Engineering indicated that there was a lack of an architect that was holding them up. July 10, 2023, Historical Society has Crom Engineering looking for an architect. Same day, Historical Society notifies the county that Alpine seems to have larger customers as their priorities, and they don't have enough time to dedicate to the project. On October 26, 2023, final drawings were sent to Nevada Blue for blueprints by the Historical Society. November 6, 2023, the first draft drawings reviewed by Historical Society, and they were sent back to Crom Engineering for corrections. February 1st, 2024, final copy of plans from Timber Framing Engineer to be brought before a railroad committee. May 7, 2024, Historical Society notifies us that they're expecting corrected plans to go to Nevada Blue by Crom Engineering the next day. May 15th, 2024, Historical Society is quote unquote finalizing depot plans. May 28th, 2024, Crom Engineering reports still waiting on final architectural plans from Alpine Engineering. June 3rd, 2024, Historical Society reports that Crom Engineering has completed plans. June 5th, 2024, Historical Society requests and receives email addresses on where to send the plans. I did have this all on one sheet to start with, but then I couldn't read it, so I told it onto two.
We appreciate that.
Second page. June 18th, 2024, the insurance contacts the county that they still haven't received plans. And so just so you know, there's almost every 2 weeks or every month that the insurance company and I are touching base back and forth throughout this process on where are you at, where are we at? I'm coordinating with the Historical Society saying where are we at on your side and back and forth. And so there are literally a number of correspondences that aren't listed here. It's just saying, hey, where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Let's see, where was I? Speaking of that. Okay, so June 20, 2024, Historical Society emails Crom Engineering email addresses. June 27, 2024, final plans received by insurance. July 11, 2024, insurance structural engineer is no longer within Loomis Engineering, misspelled there, sorry. Is now at Toby Engineering, started his own company. August 6th, so we kept with Toby Engineering, the same person throughout on the insurance side. August 6th, 2024, Toby Engineering reports that drawings need revisions. August 7th, 2024, stamp structural calculations provided by Alpine Insurance. August 28th, 2024, Historical Society working with Central Lyon County Fire Protection District on permitting exemptions. September 12th, 2024, notification that Alpine Engineering provided final corrections to Toby Engineering. September 14th, 2024, final architectural plan submitted by Crom Engineering. September 20th, 2024, Toby Engineering finishes review and provided additional comments. October 24th, 2024, additional corrections on plans still in process by Crom Engineering. November 22nd, 2024, Crom Engineering provides plans with final corrections to the insurance. December 10th, 2024, final plan received from Toby Engineering. December 10th, 2024, insurance sends plans to JS Held, the construction manager company, to seek bids. January 8th, 2025, Historical Society recommends a contractor. That's not our purview. This is all driven by the insurance company, but we sent it to the insurance and they sent it to JS Held so that they have that information and are aware that there are companies, or at least one that we would like them to consider. February 24th, 2025, insurance states that JS Held is working on getting reconstruction bids. May 8th, 2025, JS Held reaches out to the county with questions, including permitting process, et cetera, so that they can let all of the people who may be bidding on the project know the different pieces that they need to do. May 20th, 2025, insurance reports that multiple groups, contractors have declined to bid on the project. And the reasons that were stated is because it's a one-time project, it's a historical project, and there's enough work out there that the contractors really don't want the hassle of doing a historical project. And that's what they relay to me. I haven't talked to any of the contractors. I'm just reporting to the board what I've heard. And then June 13th, 2025, the insurance reports they expect to have bids back by June 27th. So that's where we are as of today. Once we get the historical bids together, or the bids together, and get a price, we will need to come to the Board of County Commissioners and say, do you want us to proceed forward with reconstruction of this at this point? Or do you want to not rebuild and get an insurance check? Or do you want to get an insurance check and see if we build it ourselves instead of the insurance? There are numerous options available to us, but we haven't gotten to the point that we can present those to the Board of County Commissioners. And in addition to that, once that process moves forward and a contractor, assuming that we rebuild, a contractor is selected. Then we want to meet together with the historical society members and the contractor and the county, iron out all the details, co-pays, items that are salvaged that can be reused, and just get everyone on the same page and have that meeting and get it done. So that's where we have been, where we're at, and where I anticipate us going. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I do apologize. I wish this process hadn't taken this long. It's not fun.
Do we have any questions for?
I've got a few.
Commissioner Casanelli?
Thank you, Mr. Foley, for bringing this forward. I was anxious to get an update. I get asked all the time on what's happening. On the portion, the exemptions from the Central Lyon fire, does that have to do with the wildland urban interface?
You know, wasn't involved with that. I know that Stony Tenant sat down to meet with them directly to see if they could be exempt from paying fees for the reconstruction, if they could basically take a look at the building and say, can we approve what we have designed here? Because there's no fire sprinkler system, right?
Right.
It has no electricity inside. I mean, there are a number of things where they wanted to keep it historical and there weren't those things. And Central Lyon Fire is like, this is the first time in our memory that we've reviewed plans that are similar to this. So he just wanted to smooth out the process and see how that could be. I haven't spoken with Central Lyon Fire to verify that. I figure that's kind of a process once we choose a contractor to make sure we gather all of the people in a circle and get the answers that we need.
Okay, and next question. I mean, it's almost to the day 5 years from when the fire occurred to where we're looking to get bids. The insurance company, have they already proposed a settlement amount, or is that, so my concern is the construction costs in 5 years are, I mean, enormously different.
Right.
So
they came up with a price. We're definitely going to have to index that forward as we go forward. I haven't looked at that price because we need to compare it with what the actual construction cost is. Take a look and see if there are any gaps. There are some negotiations we've had with the insurance company as well, saying, hey, we have some historical windows that were built for this that hadn't been installed at the time of the fire. We want to contribute that as part of our match, and some other materials, nails and things like that that are historically accurate that were purchased but not used at the site at that point. And so still a lot of moving pieces. I can't answer that question yet, but we are working on it.
okay, and then when this eventually does come back before us to make that decision on moving forward with reconstruction, will Mr. Tennant and the Historical Society have the opportunity to tell us, you know, how much they've got and what they've got and how that will offset what this will actually cost in the long run? And
I've actually received that from them. Previously, I've had the discussion literally years ago with the insurance company and sat down with their claims adjuster and said, here are the items that we have that we want to count towards our match, so we don't have to pay our $25,000 deductible. And if there are additional costs, we want it counted towards them. Again, we're gonna have to index those figures forward as we move forward as well. So absolutely.
Commissioner Jacobson?
Thank you, Chair. So when they rebuild this, are we just to help refresh my memory, are we rebuilding this so that it's actually more usable than it was in the original state? Maybe, or is that not possible because it's a historical site and it's got to be put back to exactly the way it was?
So we don't have a nice railroad going right by, so we can't use it exactly the same as it was. But the
section
should be exactly the same with the exception of ADA accessibility that's required. So I think they were planning on doing a lift to be able to access that from one side. We'll still have some discussions on that, on whether we want a ramp versus a lift. They prefer a lift. We'll see what the price comes out on it, because the original one didn't have that, which means it would be the county's cost to put some of these additional features in that wasn't there. But as much as is possible, It's going to be the exact footprint. A little bit longer roof because the original roof was longer and had been trimmed back before we got the building. And so we're taking it back to same size, same everything as much as possible. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it just seemed like we would try to make improvements to it so that it will enjoyed and used by more people, more events.
Understood. They wanted it historically accurate, exactly the same. There are some changes. I mean, just seismic changes. You have to have different construction techniques to meet today's building codes, and they try to minimize what you can see on those for the public.
So this is just gonna go new historic building.
Yes,
Right,
as
so-
much as that's an oxymoron, it is.
Right, so, there's gonna be, sprinklers in it?
I don't believe it's large enough to require sprinkling, but I'm not positive on that.
Okay, it's a public building and we're not gonna put sprinklers in it.
It is a public building. But I don't know that it's the size that requires a sprinkler system.
Would have been nice if we had that before it burned down.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any other comments?
Mr. Sheriff, I might, I think the vision, you know, the depot is kind of a cornerstone for Dayton, obviously, and important piece of our history there. And I think the vision would be obviously without power and, you know, no electric service, no water service, no restroom facilities. It's limited on its uses, obviously, but I think the vision is to have it available during events and have it open as almost a museum. That's kind of where Historical Society, I think, is looking at as well. Can you have museum quality with no power and no? I don't, it just seems like it's going to attract homeless people again. I'm not trying to be a naysayer, I'm actually trying to, is there something we can do to turn this into a more usable, appreciated venue?
I am open to whatever the board wants to discuss with the Historical Society. I personally, if I were visiting it, I would like to have lights so I could do it in other hours of the day and those type of things, but that's not what the Historical Society had requested, so that's really a discussion between the board and the Historical Society on where you want to go with that. It does make it so it's more usable for the public if you have those type of facilities.
I'd like to see it more for tourism and for the public. Maybe we should have that meeting before we decide, maybe have a joint meeting with us. Any other comments? Okay, well, that was for the presentation only, so we'll move on to 13D. For possible action, approve the Lyon County plan for the provision of indigent defense services for fiscal year 25-26. Fully.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. Again, this is one we have to do every year. The only change in this plan is the second tier conflict. So when we have our contract public defenders that take care of the cases that come up. When they have a conflict with it, we've set up a first tier conflict firm. And then for the second tier, we've had Mansfield and Mayo provide the second tier for Walker River Justice Court, but used outside attorneys as appointed by DIDS for the other courts. To make this more applicable, and because we need to have more attorneys under the Davis decision and the court decision that we're doing, we just eliminated that from Mansfield Mayo. So it's the second tier is all going to be appointed by DIDS by outside attorneys. And that's the only significant change from the existing plan to next year.
Do we have any questions? Comments? Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Lyon County plan for the provision of indigent defense services for the fiscal year 2025-2026.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Motion passes 5-0. 13E. For possible action, approve the first amendment to the Brock Law LTD Public Defender Agreement for the Dayton Justice Court to decrease the contract from $480,000 per year to $400,500 per year and change the required amount of attorneys and support staff.
Josh Floyd, Lyon County Comptroller for the record, and I've been in contact with Department of Energy and Defense as we've gone through these changes with the contractor and with the judges and those type of things. So we currently are requiring 3 attorneys there. They aren't able to staff 3 attorneys. So my question is why are we paying for 3 attorneys when we only have 2? And they agreed. And so we are changing it so that it reflects the amount that we would pay for 2 attorneys and puts in there that they need to be actively advertising for a 3rd attorney. And if they get that attorney, then we come back to the board and start paying for that 3rd attorney. But that's the rationale for the change on this particular contract.
So thank you.
Charging. I mean, I think we've.
So grand total, when we take a look at all of the contracts that they have, and they've got Walker River Justice Court and Dayton Justice Court, they were actually understaffing this one and staffing more than what the contract amount was for the Walker River Justice Court. So we were getting our money's worth. It was just where those contracts lie. And so we've changed the proposal before you today, and you'll have a future agenda item to increase the attorneys that they're doing at Walker River Justice Court. In addition to that, they're hiring an additional attorney to make sure that they have enough. So these are discussions back and forth with DIDS. DIDS is always pushing us because of the court decision and the active monitoring on that to increase the number of attorneys that we have. And so it's kind of it morphs as they have turnover and as they hire different attorneys.
Any other question or comment?
Is this something that we should be getting a presentation on what they do for us and the hours they put in, or is that not part of their contract?
It's not, well, so their contract requires them to report that information to the Department of Energy and Defense Services. And I can provide you with the quarterly report that I send to the Department of Energy and Defense Services on number of hours and those type of things for you. Keep in mind that we're talking about direct attorney hours that they report. They have ancillary staff that they have to pay for as well. So essentially what I have done in concurrence with DIDS and working with the attorneys is looked at a flat rate of $160,000 per year per attorney and $80,000 per year per staff member. That is salaries, benefits, and all overhead that they may have for those computers and offices and so on and so forth. And so with that being said, that's the model that came up with the pricing for this. I can get you the hours, and I can tell you from the hours 2 things. Number one, the attorneys are like, you know what? When I get a phone call from a client, I don't necessarily write that down because I'm on to the next client right away and so on and so forth. So some of their hours they say they're underreporting. So I've been working on them to true that up as they go forward and report the right amount of hours. But if you want a presentation, we can ask them to come in. I can also provide that as well.
I don't, is it our job to hold them accountable, or whose job is it?
It's ultimately DID's job to hold them accountable. It's our job.
Whose job?
Department of Energy and Defense Services. I'm sorry, DIDS is the acronym for them. It's their job to monitor that at the state level and make sure we're doing it. It's also our job to work with both and make sure it's working. And then also our job to work with the judges to make sure they are getting their needs met with the public defense attorneys. And so that all comes down to other duties as assigned on the comptroller's office.
Well, I don't need to put more on your plate, but I just was wondering if that's something that should be more on our plate.
However you want it, you guys are the bosses, so let me know what you'd like and we'll make it happen.
So it sounds like you are already keeping a close eye on this.
I have conversations on probably a bi-weekly basis with different parties throughout the system, whether it's a judge here, a public defender there, a public defender complaining about a judge complaining about a public defender, so on and so forth. I get all those fun phone calls.
Any other comments, questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve the First Amendment of the Brock Law Ltd. Public Defender Agreement for the Dayton Justice Court to decrease the contract from $480,000 per year to $400,500 per year and change the required amount of attorneys and support staff.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hendrick, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. 13F, for possible action, approve the First Amendment to the Brock Law Ltd. Public Defender Agreement for the Walker River Justice Court to increase the contract from $420,000 per year to $640,500 per year and change the required amount of attorneys and staff, support staff.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. So this is where we're increasing the attorneys for the Walker River Justice Court. He's actually adding an attorney compared to what we had previously, where we increased the number of staffing. He's based on his reports, and I checked with the other public defenders. The Walker River Justice Court is now the busiest justice court that we have in Lyon County. Silver Springs has become a lot more active, shall we say. And I credit the sheriff on doing more enforcement out there. So they've staffed a full-time substation, so that has significantly changed the number of cases that have been reported there. Again, same methodology that we talked about on the previous contract.
I have a question for you. I understood the 480 down to what, 400,000, approximately 80,000 on the previous item. And that was to remove one attorney. Now we're adding one attorney,
And the supports.
but we didn't have to remove the support staff at the other one. They don't seem to.
Yeah, we end up, I believe, off the top of my head, I believe we end up with between the two contracts, 3 support staff. DIDS actually wants more than that, require us to have more than that, but at this point, they're allowing us to move forward with what we have.
Any other questions?
And just to put it into context really quickly, DIDS does not like the flat rate contracts. What they prefer is that we pay an hourly rate. Their current recommended hourly rate is $200 per hour. And they want us to have attorneys, 1,300 hours per attorney per year. So that works out to 260,000 per attorney if we were to go that route. Just to put these dollars into perspective. The other thing is the increase in these contracts is paid 100% by the state. We have a base amount that we're required to do that indexes up each year. And anything over and above that, they're reimbursing us for those costs. I did send all of these contracts to them, had multiple conversations to Department of Energy and Defense Services, and they approved what we have before you.
Thank you for having that last information there. That's very helpful. Any other questions? Any public comment? Bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll move to approve the First Amendment to the Brock Law Ltd. Public Defender Agreement for the Walker River Justice Court to increase the contract from $420,000 per year to $640,500 per year and change the required amount of attorneys and support staff.
Do you have a second?
Second.
2 seconds. I have a motion by Commissioner Hockaday, second by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 13G for possible action, approve the First Amendment to the Mansfield and Mayo Law Firm PLLC Public Defender Agreement for the Friendly Justice Court to increase the contract from $480,000 per year to $640,000 per year and change the required amount of attorneys and support staff.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. This is going to mirror what's happening in Walker River Justice Court as far as the number of support staff. In addition to that, DIDS still wants us to add 2 to 3 attorneys system-wide. So we put in here that they need to be advertising for a 4th attorney so that we can take a look at adding an attorney up there. And part of the reason for that is they also cover the Fernley Justice or the Fernley Municipal Court. And so we just need more attorneys there when we consider that piece of it, because that's considered outside of the justice court piece, but we still need more attorneys. And so that's the contract before you.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner Casanelli.
One question, would this public defender be, I don't know if there's a difference with Fernley. Fernley's, there's no city court per se, it's all county.
So in
Or is there
Fernley,
any-
this one is just to cover the the Fernley Justice Court. We have a separate contract because the county's required, I don't like the statute, but it is. County's required to also provide indigent defense for municipal courts. So we have a separate contract for $120,000 with the same firm to provide those services in the municipal.
That one's not here today for,
That one's
Let's
a
do that.
3-year contract and we're not proposing an
I didn't
increase.
see, yeah, okay, that was my question.
And the city reimburses us for those costs.
They do, okay.
Both cities do for the costs of their public defender contracts.
Any other questions, comments? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring back to the board for motion.
I'll move to approve the First Amendment to the Mansfield and Mayo Law Firm PLLC Public Defender Agreement for the Fernley Justice Court to increase the contract from $480,000 per year to $640,500 per year and change the required amount of attorneys and staff and support staff.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hockaday, seconded by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to county manager. 14A for presentation only, a presentation by Lyon County Government Affairs on the outcome of the 83rd session of the Nevada Legislature and impacts on Lyon County. If you give us the good bills, that'll be the short list.
Chair Keller, Commissioners, Taylor Allison, Government Affairs Director for the record. What a fun ride this session has been. Let's just leave it there. That's my whole presentation. No, just here to bring you the outcomes, the impacts as we monitored throughout the legislative session. As you all are well aware, the 83rd session convened on February 3rd and adjourned sine die on June 3rd at just after midnight at 12:35 a.m. A total number of bills and resolutions. Going to the next slide if you can. Bills and resolutions that were introduced is 1,210. Bills and resolutions that passed 645. Those that died 565. Bills that signed by the governor. So as of today, there's 2 that are pending, which would make this a total of 519 that were still in the governor's office when I put this slide deck together. And finalized it yesterday evening. But there are 517 that were signed as of last night, and then a record number 87 were vetoed this session. 39 resolutions were approved and delivered to the Secretary of State. Wide range of resolutions. Some of those bills that were vetoed were some that we were certainly concerned about on that list of 87. One of those I have noted here, Senate Bill 303 by Senator Wynn, sponsored by Senator Wynn, would have impacted the civil immunity from civil liability on county recreational facilities. We had worked closely with the DA's offices across the state and submitting comments on what that would look like and potential liability coverage, cost increases to the county and concerns. So that was one that was vetoed in the last couple of days. So highlights of this session included themes of healthcare, education, criminal justice, elections, economic development, and housing. Again, the governor vetoed a record number of bills. This session, because there was a Democrat majority legislature and a Republican governor, most bills and budgets were significantly negotiated that passed. Even those that were vetoed. There were negotiations on about every single bill that was presented had amendments. It was rare that a bill moved through the process without any amendments. So Lyon County lobbied priority bills to reduce major fiscal impacts and substantial programmatic impacts, and I'll dive into the fiscal impacts in particular. So collaboration and legislative partnerships, we would not be able to do this without the collaboration we have with our neighboring counties, with NACO staff. Our team, county commissioners, your insight and advising our team in which direction to go in approving the legislative principles, county manager's direction, as well as comments from all of our department heads. I think well-rounded, we were able to provide comments when needed, testify to the accurate state of Lyon County and our services that we provide, as well as fiscal impacts. We met weekly with what we call the county lobbyist team that had representatives from NACO, staff, Carson City, Clark County, Lyon County, and Washoe County. So we met weekly to put together strategy and review agendas. We did have some support from a few of the private contracted lobbyists from some of our other counties. For example, Story County uses quite a few private contracted lobbyists that we engaged with, as well as all of our sector associations, such as Sheriffs and Chiefs Association, District Attorneys Association. All of our sector associations were engaged and worked with us closely as well. We had the Quad County Legislative Coalition with the 4 counties working together to at least share where we stood on bills. Wasn't always on the same page, but at least we were able to work together and strategize, amplifying our voice at this session. And then, of course, we get great support from the Nevada Association of Counties and guidance in their legislative tracking that they do through their legislative committee. So in total, we tracked 625 bills. I'm sure there are more, but I was able to capture 136 of those had fiscal notes. All of those bills were reviewed by the government affairs team and sorted into tracking lists for department heads' feedback. So everything was reviewed by myself, county manager Haskin, and comptroller Foley, and we sorted those and solicited feedback from all of the department heads. Weekly, we sorted through those as agendas were posted to prioritize which ones we needed on a more timely basis. So to kind of give you an idea of how many bills by subject we had, most of those were flagged to have finance or comptroller, although Mr. Foley reviewed all the bills. If they had fiscal impacts, they were flagged for that department. That's likely why you see the highest amount, shortly followed by courts judicial. No surprise there with the number of criminal justice particular related bills. Sheriff's Office, Health and Human Services, lots of elections bills. So we saw a broad range of bills, everything from facilities to the recorder's office. I don't think any one of our departments got out of this session without having at least one bill. I think the minimum we had were 4 bills that were impacting a particular department. I flagged a couple of the bills on our leadership bill list, which were some of the bills that we brought forward to the county commission and their current status. AB 81, the daylight savings bill, that one did die. AB 350 was a cemetery bill that had 2 components. One was to update the notification to families during exhumations, and the second part had a maintenance requirement for cemeteries. We actively lobbied on this one, told the story of our cemeteries and the challenges that some of these strict maintenance requirements would have caused for our staff. And it was amended to more align with what we currently have. So historic cemeteries were exempt from the maintenance requirements. And I believe all of our cemeteries do meet the definition of historic that they adopted through amendments. Senate Bill 69, Story County's Economic Development Bill, passed with amendments. Senate Bill 70, I brought this forward. I know Commissioner Jacobson, this was one you had us flag the appropriation. Unfortunately, the Fernley Community Response and Resource Center did not move forward. Senate Bill 116, the county elected official salary bill, did pass after several amendments and negotiations back and forth. But we did closely monitor and engage on that one. NACO actually just sent out an implementation memo to guide counties and how that moves forward. Senate Bill 364, the rail abatements bill, died. We provided comments and feedback on that one. There is some talks that may come back in different forms in future sessions or special sessions. So we'll just continue to engage with the sponsors on that one. And then Assembly Joint Resolution 1, which would revise provisions to property taxes and reset on sale. That one did not move forward as well. So quick overview of governor's priority bills. Governor Lombardo submitted 5 bills touching on each of the key themes. Only the housing bill passed and moved forward, both out of the legislature and with signature. The crime bill, healthcare bill, and economic development bill did not move forward. Those 3 died. And the education bill did not move forward, but components of it were included in Senate Majority Leader Ken Azzaro's omnibus education bill. Status of the NACO bills, 2 out of 4 passed for NACO. So great job to the team engaged on all of those. The 2 that passed were AB 14, which would require candidates are registered to vote in Nevada, and AB 70, which solicited county commission input on projects relating to energy. That one did have some negotiations and amendments, but it moved forward. And the 2 that died were SB 65, which revised provisions to records of death investigations, which came forward out of some of the medical examiners' offices, and SB 73, which would have allowed the clerks to have additional personnel inspect voter signatures. That one did not move forward. So fiscal impact overview. Of those that we were able to compile, I know our comptroller was very busy in compiling all our fiscal impacts. So little over $10 million is what we estimate to be the initial, the fiscal impact of all the initial text of fiscal notes as submitted for the biennium. The impact on future bienniums would have been $6,761,730. That does not include 85 bills that had a fiscal impact as cannot be determined. So likely this number could be double or triple what is presented here from what bills were when they were initially proposed. 47 of those bills with fiscal notes on the initial text were passed and signed by Governor Lombardo. However, almost all of them were negotiated to be fiscally neutral. There are several that do have fiscal impact, but we're still assessing what that is in their current form as the final version of them moved forward through the legislature. So themes of fiscal impacts were new tax abatements and deductions, impacts to health insurance, workers' comp premiums, elections, staff, supplies, software, and equipment costs, potential increases to liability coverage costs, and then facility accessibility and maintenance requirements such as the cemetery bill that I mentioned, and changes to detention facilities. Additional fiscal impacts I wanted the board to be aware of is that the $15 million to continue public health infrastructure projects that Dr. Shayla Holmes has presented as SB 118 from the last legislative session we are currently using for the Live Better Lyon campaign. This moves that forward. So there's $15 million to continue to build baseline public health infrastructure projects with. There is a 17% increase to the county share of the China Spring youth facility. That doesn't mean a direct 17% increase to the county, it's the county share. And that is divided based on the funding formula that everyone agreed upon, the base plus usage. So we have the breakdown of what that additional 17%, how it will be allocated to the counties. We're still looking at impacts to Medicaid assessments and the county share of the federal Medicaid match. As there were several bills that would impact Medicaid waiver programs. And Medicaid is actually hosting a meeting for counties next week to go over what the actual assessed amounts will be. And finally, one everyone should be aware of is that with this restructure of the Department of Health and Human Services into the Nevada Health Authority and their other agency, the Department of Agriculture is taking on food establishment permits. So as of July 1, those services are all moving over. Restaurant inspections, food establishment permits are moving over to Department of Agriculture. Over the last several sessions, this program has not been whole fiscally. So concerns are, well, they're looking at raising fees. What does that look like as we are assessed for environmental health services as a county? So something to keep an eye on during the interim. So key lessons learned from this session is that early coordination across departments is critical to managing fiscal notes and priorities in our electronic tracking system. The county lobbying team collaboration with other entities truly amplified our voice during this session, especially the first session having in-house lobbying team. As we're building relationships, we're working together with other counties to move priorities forward and share our voices. Ongoing engagement through NACO and committees helped shape amendments. And several bills were improved or made neutral through local government feedback. So just a couple recommendations on where we go from here. Now that session has adjourned, is that we should, as a county, continue to work on off-session strategy planning on these high-level issues that are of concern to our legislators and our governor. Have department level legislative priority lists, continued investment in local government legislative presence during the interim, and monitor and engage in a special session if we are to have one. And with that, I will take any questions.
Do we have any questions? I do would the Quad County that we all had separate lobbyists this time, and I kind of appreciated that because we did stand one side on a lot of those issues, but yet we got together, and I do want to thank NACO for what they did. Before we come back and we ask for bill draft request at the last hour, like we did this last time, maybe with the county, we can start going to departments and find the roadblocks and maybe get some help with other counties way ahead of time. So that we're not going, what kind of bill draft request are we looking for? Something that we could been talking about ahead of time. Any other comments? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brings us to 14B for possible action. Authorize the county manager to appoint an interim utility director with a salary defined within the T2 salary range. The salary is to be paid out of the existing budget. County Manager Haskin.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. I think the agenda item pretty much says it all, just authorizes me to appoint an interim director of the utility department. I haven't identified who that would be just yet, so.
Any questions or comments?
You don't want to keep this full time?
It's a lot of work. There's a lot going on over there right now and it really needs attention.
Can't just a major contract? Any questions? Yeah, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, public comment. Sorry. Thanks for the reminder.
Chair Keller, seeing no public comment, I make a motion to authorize the county manager to appoint an interim utilities director with the salary to fall within the D2 salary range. The salary is to be paid for out of the existing budget.
Second. A motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to 14C. Review and approve changes to Lyon County Administrative Policy 1 through 3, General Responsibilities. Changes include revisions to the advisory board appointment process, library board of trustees appointment process, and appointment and disciplinary process for the county manager and appointed department heads, requested by Commissioner Hendricks. Mr. Haskin.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. I seem to have misplaced my notes on this, but I think I can do it from memory. So you remember at the last meeting, we had a discussion on this policy. And the board had requested some changes on the recommendations, and so that's reflected in this draft of it. Essentially, it changes the will provide recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to a May, but as I was thinking about it, we really had to put some kind of time constraint on there, and so there's a provision in there that allows for that. So they basically have a month to address it at their next meeting. Once the county manager's office transmits the applications to that board, and then if we don't hear a response back, then the Board of County Commissioners can move forward. They also have the ability to request an additional month if they need more time, just by sending a letter of transmittal. So I think it addresses the concerns that the board had at the last meeting, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, any public comment? Eric Obermeyer.
Thank you, commissioners. I think that we covered the issues here, especially in particular with the library board. I think we covered that pretty thoroughly at the last meeting. I just wanted to say I absolutely hope that you approve the language that Mr. Haskin has presented. With respect to the library board, it secures the role of the library board in the application and selection process, and at the same time makes it absolutely clear that the Board of County Commissioners has the last word. So I hope that you approve this section as written. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
I'll move to approve changes to Lyon County Administrative Policy 1-3, General Responsibilities. Changes include revisions to the Advisory Board appointment process, Library Board of Trustees appointment process, and the appointment and disciplinary process for the county manager and appointed department heads, and include the staff recommended changes.
Second. Got a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Jacobson. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 14D, possible action, authorize the select county commissioners to travel to Las Vegas, Nevada for the 2025 NACO Annual Conference, September 23rd through 25th, 2025, for an estimated cost of $2,500 per person. Reason why I brought this forward was because it went out already, so the rooms are being rented. So do we have any comment from the board of who would like to attend?
The only comments I have is, I don't know, might be for our budget, but do we have the money to send 5 and any other trips coming up? I mean, we can all raise our hand and want to go, but do we have the money to go?
So Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record, the way I would handle this is a first come, first served type of thing. So there's enough budget currently to handle this. We normally contemplate budgeting enough for all 5 commissioners to attend the Nevada NACO conference. But as far as future trips, that's gonna depend on how many people and when and so on and so forth.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So as a board, is this the final travel for the year? Is there other travel places that we're wanting to go, and do we have the money budgeted? So I guess that's where I'm going with this.
Well, I don't know what it does to the budget, but it will take every item as it comes before us.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So, just so the board's aware, we budgeted 21,000 in the final budget for travel for the commissioners. I believe there's 2 commissioners that were approved for travel in that fiscal year budget for the travel to the National NACO conference, and I think that was at 3,500 each. So there's 7,000 there, so you have would have 14,000 left for fiscal year 25-26.
I'll come on low if you pay registration.
I'll do the same. I'll talk to my wife about it.
Based on travel, I can drive if we're on carpool.
I'll sit in on that board. I wanted 10.
I do too.
So entertain a motion that reflects that, or
So is there any other travel for the year? I guess I'm still not clear on that. Is this the last of the travel for our county, for our board?
it's beginning of it.
Yeah, Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So this is the beginning. There's no other travel that has formally been approved. The policy states that those items have to come forward and be approved.
Well, I guess I'm asking the board, do we have more trips we volunteered for to go with NACO or do other things with NACO that are gonna cost our board, so we don't have hidden costs? I don't know how else to word it, but I don't think I've gotten an answer yet.
We generally attend the legislative conference in February or March,
And where's that?
DC.
In DC. How many are gonna be going? Do we have money for that?
I don't know what the budget will look like after this.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Councilor, for the record. In addition to that, so the board is aware that 21,000 covers any commissioner reimbursement requests under the existing policy that aren't trips like this. So we have commissioners that are authorized under the policy to travel to commissioner meetings, to other boards that they're assigned to, and that mileage is submitted usually quarterly or semi-annually by commissioners. Some choose not to do any at all, some choose to do some, but the policy allows for them to do all of that. We usually run somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 a year on those costs, just so you're aware.
Other questions, comments? Or motion?
So does everybody want to go?
Make a motion.
I don't. The problem I have is that we're making a motion right now. We don't know if we have enough money to do what we want to do. So I think in order. How many are going back to Washington or want to go back to Washington DC coming up on the trip? So what is that, $7,000? Okay. I guess I can do the math if I need to. So we've got 21,000. minus the 7,000 for, is it Philadelphia?
Yes.
Minus the 7,000 for DC, that's down to 7,000. And it's 2,500. We don't have enough money to go to, all of us to go to Vegas. That's what I'm getting at.
What's registration for this?
I'm not sure what the registration fee is. I will tell you that the registration actually comes out of a training budget, and we have 5,000 budgeted for that.
So me going costs the county nothing.
So
as a part of that travel budget, if we're doing the registration, it would come out of the training budget.
Yeah.
It's typically how we pay for registration on all. I had to go find the number.
Yeah, I would propose so we get NACO here in the future, and this maybe is a future agenda item. And if our county commissioners are on NACO committees, then NACO should help flip the bill for that. Because my line of thinking is, if you're on a NACO committee, it isn't just for Lyon County, it's for all the Nevada counties. So you're fighting for all the Nevada counties. So they should be paying for, obviously we would have a vested interest in that. But because we're fighting for all the Nevada counties, if we're on the NACO Nevada Association of Counties committees, they should be flipping the bill or helping flip the bill. I would like NACO to come and do that, or answer why we can't do some of these meetings Zoom, where we zoom in and we're still part of it. We're still considered part of that. I mean, I know the socialization and the comments and stuff afterwards, but it still doesn't pay. It doesn't fill in the void of what it costs.
So I'd like to make a couple comments on that. One, I've talked to National NACO and Nevada NACO. There will be no Zoom meetings because you can't do a Zoom meeting with that many people. It isn't productive. It doesn't accomplish anything. They have certain webinars and stuff like that you can attend, but not for the conventions or symposiums. Two, we do not represent National NACO on our steering committee. So we represent Lyon County. Lyon County's who we're representing as part of the Nevada delegation, but we're Lyon County. Well, we steer everything toward our benefit, not for Story County or any other county. And by sitting on those committees, we're the ones that get to say something. The other people don't get to say anything.
Well, then I struggle with NACO on that, because they all pay dues to NACO. And if NACO is a special interest group, I don't understand it. So we pay dues to NACO, and as you saw in the legislation that we just had, everybody has input and votes on what bills we're going to do supportive at the legislative process. But here in Lyon County, we only represent Lyon County. And as far as the steering committee, they all have the choice to sit on a steering committee. It's just that we think that it's our job as county commissioners to steer policy that benefits Lyon County. So that's why we joined. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on it if I wasn't getting a benefit for Lyon County out of it. To me, that's part of being the job of being a county commissioner, not just sit back and wait on Thursdays to see what the county manager brings before us. It's to steer stuff down the stream so that we're better qualified and ready to do what we need to get done. So it has nothing to do with, we all are just Lyon County when it comes to committees.
If we show up and have our voice heard and Clark County doesn't, that's a huge win for us in a lot of situations.
I have a comment. All of us have our primary assignments. And I know that either conservation district that I'm in, irrigation district, all of those assignments, I could move on to different positions, go on to different travel and say, well, I'm going to go represent Lyon County. But my concern is if we all did that, we'd need a $200,000 travel budget. to send us to all these places where we might have an impact. So I'm very concerned about the amount of money that we do spend on travel since we're trying to cut back this year.
Mr. Chair, just comment, with NACO, this particular NACO meeting, we're talking about being held in Las Vegas. I'm of the thought that we take the registration out of the training budget. And then since it's so close compared to, DC or Philly, maybe just each commissioner get a $250 or $500 travel voucher versus the $2,500. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I'm with Commissioner Hockaday. I'm willing to pay this one out of my own pocket with the exception of the registration fee.
I don't even know what the rooms cost down there, but I'm sure they're not cheap. I'm not gonna sleep in the truck. So if I'm going, I'll stay in a room. And I sit on that board, represent Lyon County, so I want to go as Lyon County.
Well, I will say, bring up that if we get the registration fee, that's fine. If I don't find that's still ongoing. So that's the bottom line. Okay. Whether the county pays for it or not, I'm going to the meeting.
if you're waiting on me, I'll have a conversation with our comptroller on money and where we're at, and then I'll make a decision from there.
For me, I know the two of us, we serve on both the national boards and the state boards, and it's pretty hard to do that if we can't attend the NACO functions.
So what's pleasure of the board? We have a motion.
How about I make a motion that I go? You can approve that or not, won't cost a penny.
So who did we decide wants to go?
Everybody wants to go, but it's a matter of how it's being paid. And all that registration comes out of training. So that knocks that down quite a bit, and we approve this not to exceed or whatever up to. But I don't think going to Vegas is as expensive as that, but I know I'll be driving down.
I apologize. I'm just looking up to see what the cost of the registration is, just so that we have that information. So I'm having a hard time finding that. I'll have to look it up. See what it was.
Well, since everybody's kind of trying to figure out what their finances are going to be, I tried to put this on the agenda because if you get a room and get the benefit out of being at NACO in Las Vegas, you want to be as close to, or if not at the convention place, so that you're not traveling on the Uber all around town. But we'll have our own vehicles and stuff like that. So I'll make a motion to table this till our next meeting so that people can figure out whether they're gonna pay their own way, or unless you guys are ready to just say what you're gonna want, and I'll make that motion. Because I want it out of the budget for me to go completely. It's the 2,500 allowance. So if Mr. Hockaday says he's gonna pay for his own way, except for the registration, I'm taking that out. Commissioner Casanelli, are you paying your own way, or?
Yeah, with the exception of the registration.
And Commissioner Jacobson doesn't know yet. Right?
I don't know where it
But I
falls
think-
under 21,000.
But I think there's enough in the budget to do 3 paid for, all 5 registrations. 3 for travel, 5 registrations out of the other side. And we can make that motion. I'll make that motion. And then if you opt out, whatever, you don't have to spend the money. And I don't think it's gonna cost that much anyway.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Keller, seconded by Commissioner Hendricks.
We did public comment.
Oh.
Yep.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, go to the vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against?
Nay.
So I didn't hear Commissioner Hockaday. Motion passes 4-1. Process about it. Recess to reconvene as Willow Creek General Improvement District Board. Public participation, no action will be taken on our item until it's properly agendized. Any public participation? None in the room. None in the room. 16, Comptroller, 16A for possible action, approve the Willow Creek General Improvement District Debt Management Policy, Capital Improvement Plan for 25-26. Mr. Foley.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. I put this together because we have to do it by state law every year. I'm open to any questions you may have.
Any questions, comments? Any public comment? Seeing none in the room, none online. Entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the Willow Creek General Improvement District Debt Management Policy and Capital Improvement Plan for 2025-2026.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hockaday, seconded by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Brings us back to public participation. Is there any public participation? None in the room, none online. Adjourn to reconvene as Lyon County Board of Commissioners. 18, agenda requests. Start with Commissioner Jacobson. Commissioner
None at this time.
Casanelli.
None.
Commissioner Hockaday.
None.
And I have none. That brings us to Commissioner comments. Let's start on the other side. Commissioner Hockaday.
No comments.
None at this time.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Nope.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, a couple things. I got a text from Mr. Homestead. And he said that he's got 2 developers interested in helping with the scoreboard to install it. So hopefully that'll save $10,000. So my hat's off to Mr. Homestead. He's a good man. And finally, I look out in the crowd and it does my heart good to see old Russ back. Good to have you back with us.
And I have no comment. So we'll go on to participation, the final one. Seeing none, brings us to 21. It is 12:27 and we're adjourned.
Closed session.
Oh, we got a closed session. Kick everybody